The lead developer of the game, White Song of Love, Ian, passionately kisses Lola. The production manager, Kelly, stands silently nearby, watching what is happening with disdain. An idea comes to the girl's mind. She takes out her phone and starts taking pictures. At that moment, her lovers notice her. Kelly, one of the investors, says with a chuckle that she thinks she forgot to turn off the flash. As she leaves, the girl says that with the help of these photos, she will be able to rid the company of young people. Ian rushes after Kelly and declares that he loves her, begging her to give him one last chance. Kelly, with tears in her eyes, replies that the guy deceived her and there can be no talk of any last chance, and she really hopes that the couple will lose their jobs. Lola is desperate and thinks that if she loses her job, her financial well-being will collapse. The girl runs after Kelly, and having caught up with her, pushes her with all her strength, screaming that she must die. Kelly, not expecting the attack, flies straight into a table next to which there are damaged wires. The girl catches her heel on an extension cord and falls head-first onto the exposed wire. Ian is horrified, and Lola smirks and says that if Kelly dies, then no one will know anything. The girl opens her eyes, grabs her head, which is bursting with pain, and tries to understand what happened to her. Suddenly, a young man hugs the girl in a very unambiguous manner. She tries to push him away and asks in amazement who he is. The man looks at the girl tenderly and asks if his dear Catherine doesn't want to play with him anymore. Kelly looks in amazement at the familiar interior, the surprisingly familiar face of the man, and the name he calls her by. Suddenly, the girl realizes that she has apparently become the main villain of her own game, Catherine. Kelly works for a game company, but her lover betrayed her, and now she finds herself in her own game, White Love Song. According to the plot, Catherine seduced the king and killed the queen. But Princess Eve, with the help of Lucifer and Samuel, will definitely take revenge on the villain. Kelly realizes that everything that is happening is just funny, and she must find a way to get out of the game. The girl frantically thinks that she can kill a couple of characters and see what happens, because in any case, Catherine must die in the finale. The king says that the girl has nothing to worry about. As soon as the queen is finished, they can always be together. Kelly remembers that in this plot thread, it is now that Princess Eve is supposed to catch her aunt and father. The girl turns away from the man and states that they should not continue because Princess Eva might find them. At this moment, the doors to the chambers swing open, and a young princess runs into the room. The girl looks at the scene that unfolds in horror and asks with fury how her aunt and father can do this. The king coldly remarks that his daughter has completely forgotten about etiquette and asks why she dared to enter without knocking. Catherine takes the man by the hand and notices that there is no point in hiding it and that in fact she and the king love each other. Eva presses her hands to her face and asks if her aunt loves her the most. The princess looks at her aunt and with tears in her eyes asks how she could do this to her mother and her sister. Catherine mockingly asks in response, "Can't sisters do the same thing?" In a rage, Eva lunges at Catherine, intending to knock her off her feet. The king locks the woman up and tells his daughter not to forget that her mother was in prison because she attempted to assassinate him. Eva screams that this is simply impossible, that mom was set up, and that father should not listen to the villain. The king is furious and orders his daughter to be silent. Her mother is in prison, stripped of her title, and is no longer queen. The man declares that he will marry Catherine and make her queen, and the girl should get used to it. In tears, the princess declares that this will never happen. There is only one queen, and that is her mother. Catherine listens to the quarrel and thinks that she absolutely does not want to become queen. It was in vain that they did not ask her about it. The heroine calms the king down and remarks that he shouldn't yell at his daughter. They should talk in private. Catherine takes her leave, horrified at what she has done, and realizing that she needs to hurry. The girl remembers that in the original story, Catherine tragically dies at the hands of Lucifer. The heroine resolutely clenches her hand into a fist and thinks about summoning the demon in advance. While performing the ritual, Catherine remembers that in the game, the princess accidentally wakes Lucifer by dropping a candle. The flame burns the magic circle, and the true devil Lucifer appears before the woman. The demon looks at Catherine and declares that since she woke him up, he will fulfill her wish. The girl screams joyfully. Since the devil appeared, it means she is doing everything right. Without fear, Catherine approaches Lucifer and, without wasting time, orders him to kill her quickly. The girl is sure that the only way to get out of the game is to complete the storyline, so she asks the perplexed Lucifer to use his dark power and kill her. The devil squeezes Catherine's throat and furiously asks who she is and how she learned about his power. Catherine thinks with pity that she cannot tell the demon that the game was made according to her model, and that is why she is aware of all the events. The girl states that Lucifer himself knows that he must do this. The man raises his hand and calls down the devil's fire. Catherine watches the devil with satisfaction. The sooner he kills her, the sooner she can return to reality. Suddenly, the girl remembers that there is a bug in the game, and if the order of Catherine's death is not followed, she will return to her original place, her boudoir. A moment later, Catherine finds herself in her room and is perplexed to realize that she is sitting on a demon, who for some reason ended up with her. The devil looks at the girl in surprise and asks how she knows him and why she sat on him. Catherine is perplexed by the fact that the demon is truly a handsome man, worthy of a royal place. Suddenly, Lucifer explodes and declares that the girl must get off him immediately, and no one has the right to talk to him in such a tone. Ekaterina is thinking about not showing her knowledge to the game's characters. Lucifer says that since the girl called him, he will fulfill her wish. Turning around, Catherine realizes that, having returned to her boudoir, the demon has forgotten about what happened in the church. Suddenly, the girl receives a system notification that if her player does not find the right way to die, he will not be able to leave anywhere from here. Catherine thinks that she will most likely die at the hands of Lucifer on her wedding day, which means she must bring the princess to the secret room. The girl decides that Lucifer needs to be brought back, grabs the man by the hand, and tells him to get lost. The demon intercepts his hand and remarks that Catherine is very brave if she wants him to go back to the cage. The girl knows how to make the devil obedient and asks if he wants to get rid of the oppression of the dark forces. Lucifer is surprised, and the girl declares that she can break the seal and free him from the curse. One day, the father rebelled against the man and sealed him in darkness forever. In order to return, Lucifer absorbed many souls, which turned him into a demon. On the way to the church, Catherine remembers that in order to defeat her aunt, Eve made a pact with Lucifer. The princess, who is following Catherine, hears her say that the demon manipulated her, made her his slave, but was never able to get her soul. Suddenly, the girl remembers the ring and quickly takes it off her finger. Eva sees the ring and remembers that this is the only thing that connected her bright mother with Catherine. The demon looks at the ring in surprise, and the girl assures him that this is the thing that will help free him. Lucifer pins the girl against the wall and says that he can follow her, but wants to know what the girl's true goal is. Realizing that if she tells the truth, the game will break again, Catherine declares that she wants to rule the kingdom. Eva grits her teeth in rage. It turns out that she was right about everything. Unable to bear it, the princess runs out and screams that her aunt not only set up her sister, but also wants to take the throne, and she will tell everything to her father. Catherine is surprised that Eva is here. If she finds out about the devil, she will not sign a contract with him. The girl turns to the princess and declares that the king trusts her completely and will not send her to execution. Trying to make Eva even more angry, the father declares that the girl is just an empty shell and can only wander aimlessly around the castle. Catherine looks at the princess with disdain, trying to anger her even more. Eva is shocked by her aunt's impudence, swings a candlestick at her, and screams that she will kill her. Ekaterina thinks with satisfaction that she will finally be able to return home. But suddenly Lucifer covers the girl and tells Eve that if she dares to touch her, he will kill her. The man raises his hand, and dark magic begins to flow through his fingers, taking the form of a snake. The demonic force wraps itself around the princess's neck and begins to strangle her. Catherine realizes that if Eva dies, she will never escape the game, and orders the demon to stop immediately. The snake disappears, the girl falls to the floor, but suddenly everything around her is illuminated by a bright light. Lucifer looks at Eve in amazement and does not understand where the strength of the Holy Father comes from. Many years ago, the Holy Father told the boy that as long as his heart and mind preached the truth, he would always be welcome in the kingdom of God. The boy trustingly confesses to the Holy Father that he respects God but wants to study science. The Holy Father assures that all the villagers can engage in science and asks the boy to show him those who think about it. The boy declares that the Holy Father is very kind, and he will gladly fulfill his request. After some time, a whole army led by a Holy Father came to the village. The man contemptuously gives the order to kill all pagans who have betrayed the light. A boy hides behind a haystack, watching in horror as the inhabitants of his village are massacred. Lucifer sees a trace of light and realizes with fury that all this has to do with his old enemy. The demon rushes at Eve and shouts that the princess is on the side of the Holy Father and bows before him. Realizing that Catherine's entire plan is falling apart, the girl rushes at Lucifer and demands that he release the princess. The man turns around abruptly and declares that he is the devil himself and no man can interfere in his affairs. Catherine calmly notes that Eve is needed to remove the seal, and if the demon kills her, he will be swallowed up by darkness forever. Eva screams in horror that her aunt has conspired with dark forces to kill her. The princess jumps to her feet, starts running, and screams that she will tell her father everything. Ekaterina angrily thinks that now Eva will never sign the contract, and it is useless to try to fix anything. The girl remembers that Lucifer had the ability to teleport and demands that he immediately return her to his chambers. A few moments later, the devil lands in the room with Catherine in his arms. Suddenly, the man stumbles, the girl falls onto the bed, and he falls on top of her. Embarrassed, the devil sits up abruptly and says that it is not his fault, it is just that Catherine is too heavy. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door, and a voice from behind the door announces that the lady's father has come to see her. Father, aka Duke Bella, enters the room and asks what Catherine is doing. The girl slams the closet door shut and says that she is tidying up. The Duke advises leaving this work to the servants, because the girl has more important things to do. Catherine looks in amazement at the iris flower in the man's hands. This flower symbolizes the status of the queen and is a sign of identity. The Duke reasons that the queen is in prison, and the king's marital status is now in question. But today the man understood everything. Looking intently at the girl, the father says that the king loves her no less than his sister. The Duke hands a flower to Catherine and declares that her time has come to serve her family. The man invites the girl to stand next to the king and take her sister's place, and the girl realizes how cunning he is. Eva tells her father about the incident and says that collusion with dark forces is a criminal offense. The father looks at his daughter doubtfully and asks if she is sure that Catherine seduced someone. Turning to the guards, the king orders them to go to the church and bring Madame Catherine immediately. The man orders the other knights to send a group of men to Duke Belle's house to check if Catherine is there. In her irritation, the princess thinks that her father trusts her aunt more than his own daughter. The returning knight reports that Lady Catherine has been found in her chambers in the house of Duke Belle. Eva immediately turns to her father and assures him that she is not deceiving him. Catherine and the Duke bow respectfully and greet His Highness. The girl claims that she heard that she was accused of conspiring with dark forces, but all this time she was in her father's house. Eva screams that her aunt is lying. Yesterday she saw a girl with a man in a dark cloak, and they wanted to kill her. The Duke asks the princess not to make false statements, since the church is at least an hour's drive from the residence. Eva says, with tears, that most likely that man, with the help of dark magic, helped Catherine return to her home so quickly. Catherine also begins to cry and asks the king if a princess should not be punished for slander. The father turns to his daughter and states that Catherine has witnesses that she was at home, so that's the end of the matter. Suddenly, Eva hands her father a ring and says that she found it in the church and needs to ask the Holy Father to check it for dark magic. Catherine realizes with annoyance that in all the hustle and bustle, she completely forgot about the ring. The king calls the Holy Father and asks him to check the princess's guess. The Lord says that the trace of light that the priest possesses is capable of detecting the trace of dark magic. The Holy Father bows and replies that the king is right. His power is capable of sensing a small portion of dark magic. Catherine watches as the priest takes the ring and understands that if he is on the princess's side, then he will now expose her. Eva looks at her aunt with hatred and thinks that if the Holy Father confirms the presence of dark forces, then she will no longer be able to escape. The princess hopes that her mother's suffering will return to the villain, and she will pay for everything she has done. The Holy Father states that he has studied the ring and can say with certainty that it does not contain any dark forces. Eva screams in horror. She doesn't understand how this is possible, because she saw everything with her own eyes. The princess attacks Catherine, accusing her of somehow enchanting the ring. The girl understands that Lucifer disobeyed her and did not fill the ring with dark power. In the future, she must be more careful with him. With an innocent look, Catherine declares that she was in her chambers and has no idea what Eva is accusing her of. Suddenly, the girl asks what the princess herself was doing so late in church. The confused princess mutters that she was looking for something in the church that she lost there in the morning. The girl wonders what kind of thing it is that the princess personally went to look for it. Suddenly, the king bangs his fist on the chair and orders Eva to immediately tell what she was doing in the church. The girl admits that she wanted to find evidence that her mother did not resort to the help of dark forces. The king is furious and orders that they stop making excuses for the woman who attempted to take his life. The king stands up and declares that he is disappointed, and from that day on, the princess is forbidden to leave her chambers. Catherine looks at Eva and feels pity. Even though they are enemies, she is not guilty of anything, and perhaps she should be helped. The girl turns her face distorted with anger to her aunt and declares that she will make her pay for everything. The girl receives a message from the system that a new branch leading to death has been found. The main character's anger is 5%. The maid sets the table in the chambers of the punished princess and wishes her bon appetit. An angry Eva knocks over plates and screams that just because she was locked in doesn't give the maid the right to make fun of her. The second and third princesses enter the chambers and look at their sister reproachfully. The second princess says with a smile that she was worried about her sister, so she ordered a special dinner to be prepared for her. The third princess sarcastically remarks that Eva has offended the king, and now everyone is running away from her like scalded cats. Eva screams in rage that she will not allow her sisters to mock her. As soon as her mother is acquitted, she will again become the king's favorite daughter. The second princess says that her sister is just a fool if she expects her mother to be released from prison. Eva lunges at her sister and declares that for such words, her tongue should be torn out. The third sister, taking advantage of Eva's distraction, pushes her with all her might, and the girl falls to the floor. The second princess steps on the girl's hand with her heel and tells her that she should not forget the situation she is in now. Suddenly, Catherine enters the room and coldly asks what is going on. The girls rush to meet the villainess, and the second princess announces that they have decided to teach the stupid Eva a lesson. Ekaterina looks at the girls in amazement and does not understand who they are. Judging by their clothes and character, they are unimportant characters. An angry Eva points her finger at her aunt and shouts that all the problems are because of her. The princess blames Catherine for locking her up, and she hopes that sooner or later she will be able to kill her. The girl stumbles and begins to fall, but at that moment a young man flies up with lightning speed and catches Ava. The young man turns to Catherine and angrily orders her not to touch the princess. Without waiting for an answer, the knight asks the lady to be merciful and leave Princess Eva alone. Catherine realizes with annoyance that in front of her is one of the main characters, Sir Alice, the princess's faithful knight. The girl asks in amazement why she should leave Eva alone and what exactly she did wrong just now. Alice angrily reports that he saw with his own eyes how Catherine pushed the princess. The girl notices that it was Eva who was about to attack her, but she tripped over her dress. The knight quietly asks the princess if this is true, to which the girl nods affirmatively. Eva says that her aunt seduced her father, locked her here, but it was not enough for her. Now she sent her sisters to kill her. The princess tells Alice that Catherine has conspired with a follower of the dark forces and begs the knight to help her. The young man draws his sword and declares that Catherine not only raised her hand against the princess, but also betrayed God, and now he is obliged to deal with her. Suddenly, a portal opens, and Lucifer appears in the room, screaming that no one dares touch his woman. The demon touches the sword, which immediately turns to dust, and notices that the guy doesn't know how to handle a weapon at all. The devil grabs Alice by the neck and threateningly says that he does not dare touch Catherine. The knight jumps back and asks in fear who he is and why he used dark powers. The devil proudly announces that he will not hide his name and says that he is the demon Lucifer. The young man says in horror that this means the princess was right about everything, and Catherine really is a villain. Alice lunges at Lucifer with a sword, but he easily stops the weapon with his hand. The stunned young man falls to the floor and says that he will report everything to the Holy Father. Lucifer attacks the knight and shouts that if the guy is a disciple of the Holy Father, then he will not live. Catherine tries to stop Lucifer, thinking that now the main characters will simply kill each other. Lucifer asks the girl to name at least one reason why he should not kill the knight, but she replies that this way he will not be able to gain the princess's trust. Catherine whispers in Lucifer's ear that without the princess's help, he will not be able to break the seal. The devil agrees with the girl, but advises her not to deceive him. Lucifer begins to cast a spell to erase the memories of everyone who saw him. The Holy Father enters the room and asks in amazement what is happening here. Alice is lying on the floor. Catherine is lying on him. The others are also unconscious. The girl sits up, puts her hand to her head, and says that someone attacked them with magic. The Holy Father wonders if the attacker could have been Lucifer, but since he is securely locked, just in case the man decides to check the room and the seal. Eva comes too, says that she has a headache, and asks what happened to them. The princess notices the Holy Father and hopefully asks if there is any news about her mother. Sighing, the man says that the king was merciful and allowed a meeting with one person. Eva happily says that she really wants to see her mother, but the Holy Father said that the queen did not ask for her. Turning to Catherine, the priest invites her to follow him. The Holy Father says that the queen is behind the door. The girl thanks him for seeing her off. Following the priest, Catherine does not understand why her sister suddenly wanted to see her. Noticing Lucifer, the girl convincingly says that he should hide, especially when the Holy Father is nearby. Catherine assures the demon that now is not the time to show off her strength. The girl reminds that the devil's seal has not yet been removed. It has only weakened. Lucifer hides in the girl's hair, but she says that it is not enough to simply shrink. He needs to completely hide the dark forces. The devil grumbles discontentedly, but understands that the girl is right. It is not yet time to face the Holy Father. The queen is carefully writing something, and without looking up, states the fact that her sister has arrived. Ekaterina reflects that two sisters are fighting for one man, and she, as an observer, feels downright awkward being here. Ekaterina resolutely approaches her sister and asks why she called her. The sister declares that she has failed in her role as queen, and now Catherine must become a worthy replacement on the throne. The girl asks if her sister will believe her if she says that she is not interested in the king or the throne. The queen admits that she was convinced from the very beginning that Catherine was forced to become closer to the king by her father. The woman says that her father has long since decided to gain power, and his daughters are just tools in his hands. The queen looks out the window and reasons that being hostages to a political game is like being in a dungeon, and that nothing depends on them. Catherine, perplexed, asks why this is so, since she can tell everyone that she is not interested in this. The sister asks with a grin if Catherine really thinks that the king is interested in her only because she is the second Rothschild. The girl looks at her sister in amazement. She didn't start developing the game from the very beginning. So is there really some secret connected with the heroine? The queen reports that Catherine is the one who has the power to influence political power in the hands of the king. The plot mentioned that the kingdom believed in the God of light, and those who inherited his power were called saints, and it turns out that Catherine is a holy virgin. Tensions have been growing between the king and the Holy Father for a long time, and for many years they have been trying to overthrow each other from their posts. The girl walks down the corridor and thinks that if she is a holy virgin, then this becomes a huge problem. The Holy Father calls out to the girl. He notices that the Duke's residence is quite far away and says that he will take her there. Catherine turns and asks the priest if he really doesn't want to free the queen from prison. The Holy Father replies that the girl must be joking, because saving the queen does not concern him in any way. Catherine continues to insist and asks if the priest really wanted to save his sister. Would he have found a way or not? The Holy Father leans towards the girl's ear and asks if the queen has said anything about him. The girl jumps back in fright and assures that the queen only asked to take care of Ava. Catherine explains her persistent interest by the fact that the priest always treated the princess with warmth. The Holy Father assures that he has no way to save the queen and says that it is time for him to return to the church. Looking at the priest's back, Catherine understands that the chances were slim, but at least she tried. Suddenly, Lucifer presses the girl against the wall and threateningly asks what connects her with the Holy Father. The man angrily asks if she is also a priest's apprentice. In the square, the herald reads that Julia Rothschild has entered into a conspiracy with dark forces, is deprived of her title and status, and will be beheaded. Ava desperately tries to get through to her mother, screaming that she is not guilty of anything. The princess cries, lying on the ground, and insists that Catherine is to blame for everything, that she was the one who killed her mother. Rising, Eva swears that she will take revenge, and Catherine will pay for everything. The Holy Father asks with surprise what the princess is doing in church at such a late hour. The princess states that the priest has always treated her with great warmth, so she asks him to kill Catherine. The girl tries to convince Lucifer that there was never anything between her and the Holy Father. The demon states that he does not believe the girl because everyone constantly lies and forgets their vows. The man declares that he will believe only if Catherine entrusts her heart to him and becomes his follower. Leaning towards the girl's neck, Lucifer says that if she betrays him, he will eat her. The devil looks closely at Catherine and notices that she is not afraid of him, but for some reason her face has turned red. Catherine convinces the man that they are in the same boat and there is no reason to betray him. Suddenly, there is a loud ringing sound, and the couple notices that the huge glass is broken. A mercenary jumps into the room, but Lucifer immediately covers the girl with his body. The Dark Knight makes a deft leap and, shouting that she must die, rushes at Catherine with a weapon in his hand. Suddenly, the mercenary stops abruptly and looks in amazement at the sacred light emanating from the girl. Lucifer doesn't have time to react, and the knight has already jumped out the window and escaped. Catherine assures that she is fine, but she herself wonders who else, besides the princess, she could have crossed. The Holy Father listens with surprise to the knight's story about the holy light emanating from Catherine. The knight says, embarrassed, that the light emanating from the girl was even brighter than the light of the Holy Father. The priest ponders the knight's words, The power of a god is rare. Thanks to it, he was able to take the position of Holy Father. The man thinks that in their world there cannot be anyone who possesses the true sacred light. This is only possible if the girl is a holy virgin. Knight Alice informs the Duke that, by order of the king, he has entered into the service of Lady Catherine and brought 20 boxes of jewels as an engagement gift. The Duke tells the knight that as long as his daughter is under his protection, he can rest easy. Catherine runs out of the house and screams that she will not accept gifts, and especially not from the knight Alice. The girl knows that the knight is loyal to the princess, and she would be a complete fool if she allowed him to protect her. The father angrily declares that his daughter is showing disrespect and that she should be infinitely grateful for such generous gifts. The Duke approaches Catherine and angrily says that she must remember her destiny and must not disobey him. Turning to Alice, the man says that the Rothschild family has no claims against the king, and that the daughter is simply being capricious. Alice kneels before Catherine and recites the words of the oath, pledging allegiance to her. The young man kisses the girl's hand and says that he wishes to become her faithful knight. Catherine leans towards the guy and asks why he agreed to this, if he is devoted to the princess with all his heart. Alice bows his head and explains that he is the king's knight and does as his master commands. The girl sarcastically notes that the knight is very obedient and expresses hope that it will continue to be so. Catherine walks down the corridor and thinks that she is already fed up with this world, in which she is left with no choice in anything. A maid comes out to the girl and tells her that the main follower of the Holy Father is waiting for her. Catherine wonders in surprise why the main follower suddenly wanted to meet with her. The young man reports that the Holy Father invites the lady to study at the church and gives her a gift as an invitation. Alice overhears the conversation and realizes that Eva was right. This evil and vain woman is playing some kind of unclear game with the Holy Father. The Duchess tells the young man that the status of a student is too honorable for such a simple girl, and she cannot accept this gift. The knight is surprised by the girl's words, but comes to the conclusion that she is just pretending. The follower explains in surprise that the girl has been given a rare opportunity, and would she really just give it up? Realizing that Catherine is firm in her decision, the young man leaves, throwing in a parting remark that the girl may still regret her decision. A maid present at the conversation says that becoming a disciple of the church means receiving its recognition and asks how the Duchess could refuse such an opportunity. Catherine replies that she wants to live her life peacefully and has no need to agree to something that suggests some kind of plan and gives rise to attacks. Alice is surprised to realize that he didn't expect such words from the girl. This doesn't sound like villainy at all. The maid sincerely admires her mistress's intelligence. Such conclusions never even occurred to her. Ekaterina looks at the naive girl and thinks that if she wants to reach the final, honestly, she cannot use cunning. The Duchess says that if the maid wants to serve her, she will have to learn a lot. The girl happily replies that she will try her best. Catherine thinks that in this game, she has too few people to rely on. The girl leaves with the thought that if the game continues like this, the fictional world will soon collapse, and she needs to return to her reality as soon as possible. As Catherine approaches the royal hall, she decides that she needs to speed up the plot to bring about the death of her heroine. As far as the girl remembers, further in the plot, there should be a big hunt, during which Catherine will raise her hand against the princess. In this same plot, Prince Samuel from the neighboring kingdom will have to stand up for Eva. As the Duchess approaches the king, she sees Eva and wonders what the hell she is doing here. The ruler joyfully greets the bride and asks if she was satisfied with his gifts. The girl bows her head and declares that she has a small request for the king. She asks him to organize a hunt. The man declares that this is simply a wonderful idea, and as luck would have it, the princess asked him for the same thing. The Duchess looks at Eva in surprise. This girl is clearly up to something. The princess says with a smile that, according to rumors, her aunt is an excellent archer on horseback, and she hopes to learn the skill. After a short time, the preparations were completed, and all the nobility of the kingdom gathered for the great hunt. The second and third princesses do not leave Catherine's side for a moment, showering her with flattering compliments. Elsa angrily notes that the princess's mother recently passed away, and they are already fawning over Catherine. The girl resolutely declares that she will take it out on them instead of Eva, but the princess tries to hold her friend back. The girls discuss that this year the main trophy will be a porcelain medal. Elsa came up and said with a laugh that the ruler had once built an entire city for the queen, but for Catherine, he had only given her a porcelain medal. The Duchess remembers that before her is Eva's best friend, who, due to the king's favor, has become proud and impudent. The Duchess states that Princess Eva was also the initiator of the hunt, and doesn't Elsa mean to say that the king treats his daughter with disdain? Elsa reflects with surprise that Ekaterina had never been very smart before. She wonders when she learned to answer like that. The girl attacks the Duchess, accusing her of killing her sister, to which Catherine demands evidence. Looking intently at Elsa, the Duchess threatens that false rumors should not be spread. The girl continues that since the topic has touched upon Eva, she will give her interlocutor advice not to repeat what everyone around her says. Otherwise, she can quickly become a tool in someone's hands. Eva intervenes in the conversation and says that Elsa is simply seeking justice and begs her aunt to have mercy on her. The princess pulls her friend aside, but she resists and says that she is not guilty of anything. Suddenly, the girl returns and invites Catherine to compete in horse riding to find out who is better. The girl knows that the Duchess used to ride poorly and hopes that today she will disgrace herself in front of everyone. Elsa declares that she will cancel the challenge if her aunt apologizes to Eva on her knees, but Catherine calmly accepts the challenge. The girl looks at her interlocutor in confusion. She never expected that she would agree. Lucifer asks why the girl agreed, since the trophy doesn't look too worthwhile. Catherine replies that the enemy has raised his flag, and if she refuses, everyone will think that she is afraid. The devil presses himself against the girl, grabbing her hand and declaring that there is no need to strain herself, but to simply kill her rival. Catherine categorically states that it is impossible, thinking that Elsa is an important figure in the line that leads to the death of the heroine. The Duchess assures the demon that he has only recently regained his powers and that he should not reveal himself, and that killing him would only bring unnecessary problems. The man looks deeply into the girl's eyes and asks if she doesn't believe in his powers. Catherine calmly notes that it's more likely that the demon doesn't believe in himself, and, in general, why did he think that she would lose? Lucifer leans towards the girl's face and whispers that, in that case, Catherine must live up to his expectations. The competitors receive the command to get ready and drive out onto the road where the race will take place. Lucifer notices that the girl's horse is acting restless and asks if she can do without his help. The Duchess enthusiastically replies that she loves to challenge herself. The signal sounds and the race begins. Seeing that Catherine is easily pulling ahead, Elsa decides that she will not let her opponent win so easily. Elsa knows that in order to win, the horse must be calm and must not be allowed to be disturbed by anything. So, having caught up with her rival, she plunges the dagger straight into her horse. The animal neighs loudly in pain and rears up. Ekaterina, not understanding what is happening, barely stays in the saddle. Lucifer sees that the girl is in danger, and in the blink of an eye, he moves through the portal to the scene of the events. The magic wand, hidden behind the Holy Father's back, is sensitive to the presence of dark magic. The Duchess shouts at Lucifer not to interfere. If he disturbs the horse, she will completely lose control over him. Ekaterina manages to tame the animal, and before the eyes of the astonished Elsa, she quickly rushes to the finish line. Lucifer watches the girl with pride and thinks that she is the most amazing person he has ever seen. Elsa admits her defeat and threatens that she is not afraid of Catherine, and if she dares to offend Eva again, she will suffer. Looking at the girl leaving, The Duchess imperiously says that she did not give her permission to leave. Catherine claims that Elsa injured her horse, so they are not even. She is not a good aunt at all. When Elsa asks what else the Duchess wants, the girl replies that she is challenging Eva to a horse-riding challenge. According to the plot, during the races, Catherine prevented Eva from winning, and the enraged horse carried the princess off into the forest. In the forest, Eva must be saved by a prince from a neighboring kingdom, who will fall in love with the princess at first sight and for life. Looking in the mirror, Catherine reflects that death at the hands of the prince is also one of the possible endings, and that the plot needs to be accelerated as quickly as possible. Lucifer appears on the threshold with a gorgeous bouquet of roses and congratulates the girl on her victory. The demon reproachfully says that the next time Catherine is in danger, she should not try so hard. The devil assures that he has enough strength to save the girl, and Catherine notices with surprise that her heart begins to beat like crazy. As she leaves, the Duchess says that Lucifer needs to save his strength because he is her main trump card. The man comes too close again and asks if the girl is worried about him. The demon leans towards the girl's face and states that he has something to confess. Alice is wandering through the forest when the princess calls out to him from the bushes. The girl looks at the young man and asks to whom he is most devoted. Without thinking, the knight gets down on one knee and confesses that he is faithful only to his mistress Eva. The princess hands Alice a bottle and says that she needs to make the Duchess's horse go berserk. The knight doesn't like this idea at all, but he obeys the girl's order and assures her that he will do everything that is necessary. At the same time, Lucifer confesses to Catherine that he likes her very much. The demon offers the girl to forget her past life. If she is with him, the devil will always be able to protect her. Catherine looks into the eyes of the devil. She feels bewitched. Her heart is still beating hard. After being transferred to the game, the girl feels like she is constantly walking on thin ice. There are enemies all around, and she cannot relax. When Catherine returns to her world, she will still have to deal with the cheater and divide the rights to the game and property. Lucifer was always next to the heroine in the game and constantly protected her. The girl closes her eyes, trying to get everything out of her head, because this is just a game, not real life. Looking at the demon, the heroine thinks that the world in the game depends on the real world, and if something goes wrong in it, then the game will collapse, and then she will no longer be able to get out. The girl firmly pushes Lucifer away and states that he cannot like a villain like her. The man looks at his interlocutor with confusion and says that he really likes her. Catherine confidently declares that the devil only wants to completely free himself from the oppression of the dark forces with her help. Lucifer, in a rage, grabs the girl and asks if she really wants to marry the king and become the one everyone despises. Catherine nods affirmatively. The devil throws the flowers and quickly leaves, wishing not to regret his decision in the end. The Duchess shouts after him that the demon must follow the princess and save her in case of danger. Lucifer remains silent, and the girl declares that without this, he will not be able to fulfill his desire for liberation. The devil turns around and angrily replies that the girl doesn't need to worry, he will do whatever is needed. Catherine sits down on the floor and convinces herself that she did everything right. She must die at the hands of one of the main characters. But suddenly the girl realizes that she is in great pain and feels like her heart is broken. Alice brings the horse a bowl of water containing the potion Eva gave him. The knight realizes that the enraged horse could easily throw the rider and trample him to death, and wonders if he is doing the right thing. Catherine enters the stable and asks Alice why he is staring at her horse. Hiding the bowl behind his back, the knight says in fear that the lady's horse was thirsty and he gave her water. The Duchess looks at the young man with suspicion. He is very devoted to the princess, so why did he suddenly decide to take care of her horse? Noticing the guy's fear, Ekaterina puts her hand on his cheek and asks why he is so upset. The young man abruptly removes his mistress's hand and speaks, embarrassed, asking her not to touch him so suddenly. The Duchess takes the knight by the chin and provocatively asks if only Eva has the right to do this. Blushing, Alice wanders around in front of the girl and says that he is not yet used to her, but following his oath, he will be eternally devoted to her. Catherine asks if the knight can then swear that he did nothing bad with her horse. The guy looks away and swears. Eva stands behind the stable wall, overhears the conversation, and furiously comes to the conclusion that Alice has betrayed her. Suddenly, Ekaterina receives a message that the main character's anger has increased by 5% and is surprised. Looking at the knight, Catherine wonders whether the disagreement between him and Eve will lead her to the desired ending. The Holy Father announces that the winner of the competition will be the one who catches the greatest amount of game in the allotted time. Suddenly, Eva interrupts the priest and tells him that she has learned about the substitution of horses. Alice tries to tell Eva that she got it all wrong, but the princess pretends not to hear him. The princess approaches the Holy Father and asks him to help her because she just wants her horse back. Looking at Catherine, Eva thinks that since Alice betrayed her, it means that the priest will have to be involved. The girl says that her horse has a special mark. There is a white scar at the very bottom of its mane. The princess asks the priest to check for the scar and see for himself. The man is convinced of Eva's words and tells Catherine to exchange horses with her. The Duchess asks the Holy Father if he is going to listen to her too, since the truth is established by the testimony of both parties. The girl firmly states that all horses are alike and some scar cannot serve as evidence. Suddenly, it occurs to the heroine that she doesn't care about the outcome of the hunt. Even if Eva did something to the horse, she can just ride to the forest and get off it. Catherine looks at the position of the sun and understands that Prince Samuel should soon appear at the place of their meeting with Eva. The Duchess says that she has nothing to say and everything is clear, and she agrees to do as the Holy Father commands. The girls mount their horses and set off at a gallop, and the hunt is declared open. After a short while, the princess's horse suddenly rears up. Eva barely manages to jump off the horse. The animal is completely furious and behaving aggressively. Lucifer hurries to the fallen princess, extends his hand to her, and asks if she is safe. Having recognized Catherine's acquaintance, Eva asks in fear whether the Duchess had sent him to kill her. The man calmly replies that if he had not scared the horse, the princess would have died anyway, and adds that he and Catherine no longer have anything in common. The devil says that if everything is okay with Eve, then he has nothing to do here and is about to leave. But the girl calls out to him. The princess looks closely at Lucifer and asks if she can turn to him if she needs help. The man turns around and expresses hope that this will not happen. As Eve watches the devil go, she reflects on how calm and handsome he is, and how he didn't behave as rudely as he did during their first meeting. Catherine wanders through the forest and thinks that if Lucifer did not fail, he should have already met Eve, and then the plot will go on as usual. Suddenly, there is a loud crack, and a huge, enraged beast rushes out of the bushes straight towards the girl. At this moment, the Duchess's horse bucks and runs away, depriving her of a chance to escape. Realizing that she has no other choice, the girl takes out her bow and decides to fight. The beast rushes at Catherine, and with one sharp movement, she shoots an arrow straight into his chest. The beast calmly pulls the arrow out of the thick fur, and the Duchess understands that she cannot defeat him with just a bow. Catherine is disappointed to think that, upon learning of such a death, people will simply burst out laughing. Suddenly, someone rushes at the beast with a sword, and defending it, knocks the girl off her feet. The young man looks at Catherine and asks if everything is okay with the beautiful lady. The young man takes the Duchess by the hand and introduces himself as the Prince of the Snow Kingdom, Samuel Elva. The Duchess looks at the young man in bewilderment and realizes that she has accidentally stolen the guy from the princess again. The prince, without letting go of her hand, asks the name of the beautiful and brave girl. Catherine wonders with bewilderment how she will now be able to go through the storyline where the prince saves the princess and falls in love with her. Suddenly, Lucifer appears right in front of the young people and asks in a scary voice what they are doing. The girl looks at the demon in fear, not understanding what he is doing here, and is finally convinced that everything is not going according to script. Lucifer does not calm down and angrily asks what kind of man is kissing the Duchess's hands. Losing her temper, Catherine shouts that this is the proper etiquette, and it is time to stop perceiving everything ambiguously. The girl looks at the enraged demon and, seeing the magical fire, understands that he is going to use force. Samuel watches what is happening in bewilderment and remarks that it is impermissible to speak to a beautiful lady like that. Unable to come up with anything better, the Duchess points her hand to the side and shouts that the terrible beast has returned. While Samuel is distracted, Catherine grabs Lucifer and runs away. Realizing that he had been tricked, the prince shouts after her that he never found out the name of the beautiful stranger. Turning around, the girl says that if they meet again, he will have a chance to recognize him. In the forest, Lucifer pins Catherine against a tree and angrily declares that he is nothing more than a pawn to her, to be pushed around. The girl tiredly replies that the demon misunderstood everything, and now she will explain everything to him. The devil asks earnestly if the Duchess really dislikes him that much. Suddenly, the thought occurs to the man that Catherine doesn't like him because he is not human. The Duchess looks at the demon in amazement and sees that he begins to cry. The girl realizes that she brought the demon with the most impenetrable heart in the game to tears, and comes to the conclusion that she really is doing something wrong. Catherine shakes her head vigorously and decides that she needs to follow the plot. Everyone else is just characters in the game. The girl asks the confused Lucifer if he remembers their agreement. The Duchess places her hand on the devil's cheek and says that she doesn't need love, she just needs to survive. The man asks if this means that the girl is getting married, not because she loves, but because it is necessary for her goals. Poking his finger into Catherine's chest, Lucifer says that he doesn't know about her plans, but that place is empty. Suddenly, a black beam of magic hits the Duchess directly, to which she asks in surprise what the demon is up to. Lucifer declares that despite the agreement, they can love each other and kisses the girl on the lips. The man says that he will wait for the day when Catherine will fall in love with him, and then the black lotus will bloom in her heart. The demon, without looking away, looks at the Duchess and says that as soon as this day comes, he will pick the flower. Lucifer flies away, and Catherine shouts after him that he still hasn't learned how to get rid of the oppression of the dark forces. Turning around, the devil says that he only needs to swallow the heart of the Holy Virgin, and then he will become his former self. The girl screams that she can help the devil find this very heart. As she walks through the forest, Ava reflects that Catherine has persuaded Alice to her side so that the princess will believe that she has been betrayed and is now wounded and unable to shoot game. Coming out from behind the bushes, the princess suddenly sees the carcass of a huge beast and a man standing next to it. Approaching the stranger, Eva shyly asks if he could give her this animal. The princess assures that she will repay the young man in full and introduces herself as Eva Christian. The prince easily agrees and asks why the girl needs such a carcass. Eva shyly replies that she needs to defeat someone. The princess briefly tells her story and adds that because of the maddened horse, she is unable to hunt. The girl convinces the young man that she absolutely cannot lose to the vile scoundrel. Samuel asks if he understood correctly that the princess wants to pass off the beast as her prey and win. Eva says that cheating is of course not good, but if the guy doesn't tell anyone about it, she will pay him even more. The prince understands the girl's desire for revenge and therefore offers to help her deliver the loot to the camp. The princess returns to the astonished gaze of the people and joyfully points to her catch. The girl comes to greet her father, who notices with alarm that the girl has hurt herself. Eva says that the forest is very dangerous and she got hurt by accident, but thanks to her father's training, she was able to defeat the wild beast. The father is proud of his daughter and asks the name of the young man who helped her bring the lute. The young man introduces himself respectfully and explains that he has come from a neighboring kingdom to study and travel. The king joyfully asks if Samuel is King Edward's son, to which the young man nods affirmatively. Eva turns to the guy in amazement. She couldn't even imagine that he was a prince. The king is pleased to give the prince a worthy welcome and announces that since Eva has returned, he is closing the hunt and declaring a winner. The Lord turns to Catherine and asks if she accepts her defeat. Samuel turns to Eva and loudly asks if this is the mean aunt the girl was talking about. The king angrily asks how the young man dares to call his future wife vile. The princess turns around in fear, not understanding how the prince could so meanly share what she told him in anger. Samuel tells the king that these are not his words and that he would be better off asking the princess about everything. The young man suggests asking Eva where she got her lute, thinking that, unlike her, the vile aunt did not do this. Eva cannot hide her contempt. The pathetic prince has betrayed her so vilely. Suddenly, Catherine declares that the one who brought the beast is the breadwinner, and she honestly admits her defeat. Samuel replies that Catherine is right, and in that case the spoils really do belong to the princess. The Duchess looks at the prince, but she doesn't like his look at all. The girl despairs and thinks that everything is falling apart, and that she urgently needs to fix the plot. Ekaterina frantically tries to remember what happened next in the game's plot. The Duchess turns to the king and suggests holding a ball to properly welcome the guest. At the ball, the king and Duchess Catherine warmly welcome the prince. Samuel bows and says that he is glad to greet the beautiful lady. The princess is angry that despite winning the hunt, all attention is focused on her aunt. The girl approaches Catherine and offers to drink wine with her as a sign of mutual respect. The Duchess sees that the princess's bitterness is 60% and hopes that a turning point will soon come. The girl turns to Alice, who is holding a tray with a glass of wine. A moment later, what the Duchess had been waiting for happened. Turning awkwardly, the knight knocked over a glass of wine onto the girl's dress. Catherine is in anticipation. If everything goes according to plan, the death of the main villain will soon come. To speed up the plot and show her mark at the ball, the girl slightly damaged her dress. Catherine saw that Alice was secretly spying on her and would certainly report everything to the princess. As soon as the young man approaches, the girl asks him to give the dress to Eva as a gift. Alice passionately says that he does not believe in the mistress's meanness. The princess will soon become a daughter to her, and he does not understand how one can treat her like that. Catherine coldly replies that if the young man considers her evil, then her actions must also be evil, and if the guy does not give her the dress, then he will regret it. Turning away, the Duchess hopes that after her speech, the knight should do everything right and continue the plot line. Eva, after listening to Alice's story, asks in bewilderment whether Catherine really said that. The knight declares that the princess should under no circumstances wear this dress, especially since the prince will be at the ball. Eva is upset to see that her aunt is making fun of her because no one is protecting her and only loyal Alice can help her. The princess says that at the ball she will offer the Duchess a drink, and the knight must spill wine on her, and then the girl will offer her aunt to change into her own dress. The knight wonders why she can't just leave the dress in the room, but Eva confidently says that if Alice doesn't help her, Catherine will deal with her the same way she did with her mother. It occurs to the young man that all this time he has only seen the princess trying to harm the Duchess. But despite the fact that everyone blames her, Catherine always remains calm and unperturbed. But still, the guy could not disobey the princess. He looks at Catherine's dress with disappointment and asks for forgiveness. Eva slyly remarks that her aunt has no spare dresses in the castle and reproaches the knight for his inattention. The princess happily hands the dress to the Duchess and says that she will gladly give her her gift. Ekaterina accepts the dress with a smile and thanks the girl for her attention. The Duchess quietly tells Lucifer that the Holy Virgin is present at the ball and that the man must disappear into the crowd and look for her. Eva quietly asks the young man if he understood everything and promises to reward him if he succeeds. Catherine sees a young man walking towards her and understands that everything is going according to script. He must invite her to dance. But suddenly, Samuel gets ahead of the young man and asks the Duchess for permission to invite her to dance. Catherine is at a loss. On the one hand, she can't refuse the prince, but on the other, this will again disrupt the scenario. In the end, the girl decides that it doesn't really matter who she dances with and graciously agrees. During the dance, a crack is heard, and the dress prepared by the Duchess falls apart, revealing the back with the mark. Catherine realizes with annoyance that the dress came apart at the most inopportune moment. To the girl's surprise, Lucifer, a staunch opponent of holy power, hesitated. Samuel takes off his cloak and quickly throws it over the girl's shoulders, hiding the mark. The king runs up and attacks Eva, asking why the Duchess's dress came apart, but the girl says that it was her aunt who gave it to her. Samuel says that if the Duchess gave the dress, then there was nothing wrong with it, but then someone secretly altered it. The second princess rushes to Catherine's defense, convincing her that she is very kind, and that everyone constantly misunderstands everything and attacks the mistress. The king turns sharply to Eve and asks if she has anything to say. Ekaterina is surprised to notice that many people who had previously spoken badly of her have come to her defense. Eva insists that she is incapable of doing anything bad and does not understand why the prince constantly attacks her. The princess suggests asking Alice. He is Auntie's knight and will not hide the truth. The Lord turns to the knight and orders him to tell everything as it really was. Alice falls to one knee and tells that the princess told him to spill a glass of wine on Lady Catherine's dress. Both girls open their mouths in amazement, not understanding why the knight decided to tell everything. Eva tries to justify herself by saying that Alice is lying, but the king abruptly orders her to be silent. The father orders the guards to take his daughter away and tells her that until the girl realizes her guilt, she will not receive a penny. Catherine rushes to the man and says that the princess did not wish her harm. Most likely, he just misunderstood something. The king admits that he neglected his daughter's upbringing and is embarrassed that his bride is being groundlessly accused. The man takes the girl to change clothes, and she reflects on how, in the end, the faithful prince betrayed the princess, and the king's attitude towards her has noticeably changed. In the corridor, the king pounces on the bride and says that she should be more careful and not wear too revealing clothes. Catherine leaves, and the king orders the guard to kill anyone who talks about what happened and about the Holy Virgin. Having heard the conversation, Catherine understands with horror that if before the ruler treated her quite indifferently, now he strives to control her in everything. Samuel knocks on the door of the room and asks if Madame Catherine is there. The Duchess asks why the prince has come. The young man reports that the ball is over, and he still hasn't had time to invite the lady to a meeting dedicated to training, which will take place in a few days. According to the plot, Catherine's reputation was ruined by her constant intrigues, and the love between Samuel and the princess blossomed. The girl recalls that Ekaterina, having not received an invitation to the meeting, arrived there without permission in order to ruin everything. But the girl didn't succeed, and the love of the prince and princess became even stronger. Catherine understands that she needs to find a way out of the game at any cost, so she needs to complete the plot at any cost. Having finished with her toilet, the Duchess leaves the room and announces that she will definitely be at the meeting. Suddenly, the girl feels a surge of strength. After all, she is the creator of this game, and any deviations in the plot should not frighten her. The Holy Father listens with interest to what happened at the ball. The follower reports that many high-ranking guests have seen it, but most of them do not know the meaning of the mark. The priest notes that those who know about the mark have probably understood who Catherine is. The Holy Father lets the young man go and remarks that it is time to visit the future queen. Catherine hands the maid a letter and orders that the princess must not know who sent it. The Holy Father greets the Duchess and asks forgiveness for disturbing her at such a late hour. The man admits that his words will sound rather strange, but he still asks the girl to refuse the wedding. The priest says that he is aware of the request of the Duchess's father, but he himself occupies a very high position, and in any case will be able to ensure the girl's safety. Touching Catherine's face, the Holy Father says that in exchange for what he can offer, he has a small request. Running his finger over Catherine's lips, the priest says that he is asking her for a very small reward. The Duchess suddenly asks why the Holy Father assumed that she did not love the king. But even if it was true, why should she cancel the wedding? The man replies that no one but him can provide protection to the Holy Virgin. The Holy Father declares that now the girl is a real treasure that everyone would like to have, so even the king is unable to ensure her protection. Ekaterina thanks the priest for the offer, but admits that she cannot make a decision right away. She needs to think. The man notes that he may have been too persistent and asks the girl to think about his words. Leaving the room, the Holy Father orders his follower not to wait, but to finish off Lady Catherine. The young man, in fear, says that she is a holy virgin, but the priest replies that it no longer matters. The Holy Father coldly informs that since the Duchess does not wish to serve him, there is no need to leave her alive. Pressed against the wall, Catherine despairingly thinks that she really has become bait, since even the Holy Father is interested in her. In her irritation, the girl thinks that she just wanted to complete the game. But with each passing day, the plot becomes more and more confusing. Suddenly, the girl feels someone's presence and asks in fear what Lucifer is doing here. Realizing that the demon most likely heard everything, the Duchess asks how long he has been standing there, to which he replies that it has been long enough. Catherine tries to explain that she has nothing to do with the Holy Father. Lucifer says that the pretender himself pestered the girl and is interested in whether he only touched her face. The man admits that as soon as he saw another man touching the girl, he felt so sad that he couldn't even breathe. Lucifer declares that the surest solution to this problem is to kill everyone who dares to touch the Duchess, and then she will become his. Before Catherine can come to her senses, Lucifer approaches her and passionately kisses her on the lips. Suddenly, a loud ringing noise is heard in the girl's ear, and she presses her hand to it in fear. Lucifer gently touches the girl and asks her not to worry. It's just a spell working. The demon explains that if there is a large distance between them and he stops sensing the Duchess, he will lose control and kill all the men who bother her. The devil gets down on one knee and asks Catherine to never leave him and always be by his side. The girl says that she will agree if he does not kill the Holy Father, but now she has a lot of things to do. Lucifer's eyes light up with a devilish fire, and he decides that he will deal with the Holy Father later. A maid enters the princess's chambers and announces that she has been given a letter. While Eva reads, the maid asks her to be careful because there is no information about the sender. The princess mysteriously replies that it doesn't matter. What's important is that the sender also wants to get rid of Catherine. Catherine is about to leave, but Alice says that it is better for her to stay. The young man says that last night the princess met with a bunch of aristocrats to figure out how to annoy her aunt at the upcoming meeting. The knight says that if the Duchess leaves, something terrible might happen to her. The girl asks how the guy knows this, to which he replies that a former comrade in service told him. Catherine cannot understand why, after the ball, Alice repeatedly betrays the princess whom he faithfully served. The girl slaps the guy on the chest and says that a villain like her is not afraid of any intrigues. Catherine notes that the young man should be the princess's faithful knight. Alice replies that she simply cannot break the knight's code. The young man admits that the Duchess is not a villain at all. She is simply forced to defend herself in unkind ways. The knight states that although he is not the strongest, under his protection, the girl has no need to pretend to be a villain. Realizing that Catherine will go anyway, the knight promises to do everything he can to protect her. Noticing that the Duchess has arrived, Samuel abandons his interlocutor and runs to meet her. The girl greets the prince and apologizes for being late. Ava tells the young man with a grin that things will go badly for him after this meeting if he does not unite with her. The princess assures the guy that today they have a great opportunity to disgrace Catherine in front of everyone. The young people notice how the prince escorts the Duchess to the places prepared for the guests close to the king. The young man approaches the prince and notices that they have all arrived for training and does not understand why the lady, whose assessment of the country's governance is very low, is sitting in the best seats. Elsa notes that Catherine won't even understand how to make the state stronger. The girl continues that the princess, out of the kindness of her heart, will answer all the questions instead of the villain. Samuel asks in surprise if the princess knows the answer to the question of how to make the state stronger. Eva understands that everything in the letter was true, and the prince came to find out how to strengthen the state. The princess confidently answers that citizens must be given the opportunity to improve their situation. If they become more prosperous, then the state will become stronger. Eva says seriously that the head of state cannot simply belong to the upper class. Their duty is to make the lives of ordinary citizens better. Samuel notes with approval that he had not thought about how understanding the princess was about this problem. Ekaterina happily understands that there has been a shift in the relationship between the young people. The young man turns to the Duchess and asks her opinion on the matter. Deciding that it would be best to disagree with the princess, the girl firmly states that it is very difficult to give ordinary citizen the opportunity to get rich. The prince says thoughtfully that even if people have more opportunities, it is not a fact that they will be able to use them correctly. Samuel says the Duchess's comments completely refute the princess's views. Eva turns to the young man and reminds him of her mission. The young man approaches the Duchess and says that the girl's teacher clearly underestimated her, and the boy also heard that she got low marks in horse riding. Elsa, with a grin, suggests that Ekaterina prove herself, otherwise they have already begun to suspect the teachers of incompetence. Eva innocently states that this is a bad idea in case her aunt can't handle the horse and makes a bad impression in front of everyone. Everyone looks at the Duchess, and she realizes that she has fallen into a typical trap. Alice steps forward and states that the mistress is not feeling well, and now is not the time for riding. The young man declares that he, as a knight, will compete with the princess instead of the Duchess. Samuel offers himself as a partner, which would be quite fair, and offers to choose the swords. The young men come out into the garden and draw their swords, preparing for battle. Watching the fight, Ekaterina thinks that in the game, Alice was made much stronger than ordinary people. But if you compare the young man with all the other characters, he is the weakest of them all. The knight approaches the Duchess and says with shame that he has dishonored her with his defeat. Samuel approaches the girl and asks her to teach the young man the correct political views. The girl looks at the angry Eva and understands that her plan failed again, and everything turned out exactly the opposite. The Duchess is forced to refuse, her knight is wounded, and she considers it necessary to take care of his treatment. The disappointed prince apologizes to the remaining guests and says that he needs to go urgently and that the meeting is over. Eva turns to the young man and declares that the prince has no business. He simply doesn't care about them. The princess irritably thinks that the prince only thinks about Catherine, and everything the girl does is in vain. Catherine tells Alice to make sure that all things are packed. It is time for them to hit the road. The prince approaches the girl and asks with regret if Madame Catherine is already leaving. The Duchess replies that she really must go. She has already been too late. The young man gives the girl a brooch and says that this is a symbol of his state, and if the girl finds herself in trouble, she can always turn to his people. The prince says with feeling that he has been to many places, but he could never have imagined that he would ever meet her. Samuel kisses the girl's hand and hopes that one day he will have the chance to bring her to his kingdom. Catherine is amazed to realize that the young man has just actually confessed his feelings to her. The Duchess coldly replies that the prince's visit must have a more serious purpose. The girl says that as far as she knows, in the Northern Kingdom, power has been seized by other princes, and Samuel has no reason to even think about taking the throne. Catherine bows to the young man and asks him to apologize for the rudeness he showed. Straightening up, the girl declares that she is a future queen, so sometimes she can allow herself liberties. As usual, Eva hides around the corner and eavesdrops on the conversation between her aunt and the prince. Samuel's face changes and orders the guard to keep an eye on Catherine and find out everything possible about her. Sitting in the carriage, the Duchess understands that she had to say something that would upset the prince, but then he would definitely thank her. The girl thinks that the storyline with the prince will have to be abandoned, but the storyline with Lucifer is also lost. With bewilderment, Catherine reflects that Alice has become her last hope. Suddenly, Eva approaches the carriage and asks permission to go with her aunt because her carriage has broken down. Ekaterina recalls that according to the game's plot, it was in the carriage that the heroines cleared up all the misunderstandings, and together they had to confront external troubles. The Duchess tells the princess that she would be happy to spend time with her on the road. Catherine begins the conversation by saying that she never wanted to hurt the princess. Eva replies that she knows about it. They are one family, and her aunt cannot wish her harm. The girl squeezes the Duchess's hand and asks if her aunt can forgive her. Ekaterina is surprised that the main character has become smarter so quickly, and she can say the right phrases right out of her mouth. Eva thinks that she needs to be more careful so that her aunt does not understand the princess's true intentions. Suddenly, the carriage stops, and the girls hear loud screams. Before leaving, Eva orders the knight to pretend to be a thug and attempt to assassinate Catherine. The princess understands that the knight is not a match for Alice, so he only needs to pretend. Catherine looks out of the carriage window and asks what is happening. Suddenly, the door opens, and a man with a hidden face appears in front of the girls. Eva feigns fear and screams that they are being attacked by a thug. The mercenary pulls a dagger from his belt and points it directly at Catherine. The princess, as planned, nobly covers her aunt, but the knife plunges into her stomach. The girl looks at the blood in amazement and realizes that it was not the one she had persuaded to attack them. Jumping out of the carriage, the mercenary jumps onto the roof, and Alice immediately runs up to him. Jumping off the roof, the criminal looks back at the girls and mutters that the girl is useless anyway. The knight tries to catch up with the mercenary and cuts off part of his sleeve with his sword. On her exposed shoulder, Alice is amazed to see a rather remarkable tattoo. The young man remembers how a man with the same tattoo strangled his father. Sitting in the thicket of grass, the mother covered her son's mouth, but he watched in horror as his father was murdered. Alice looks at the mercenary with fury and says that he is that very devil. The man understands, covers the mark with his hand, but understands that he has been recognized. Alice orders all knights to capture the murderer and promises a generous reward. Catherine lays the princess on the floor of the carriage and says that she will call for help. Eva notices the knight she had been encouraging in the window and realizes that the perfect moment has come. The guy tries to justify himself, but the princess says that there is no time and orders him to quickly kill the Duchess. The knight quickly catches up with Catherine and, drawing his sword, pierces her through and through. At that very moment, Lucifer appears and catches the falling girl. The demon turns around in a rage and notices the princess peeking out from the carriage. The devil instantly grabs the girl by the neck and screams that it was she who killed the Duchess. Returning to the carriage, Alice is astonished to see Catherine lying on the ground and the demon who attacked the princess. The young man immediately draws his sword and runs to Lucifer, ordering him to let Eve go. The devil angrily says that no one has the right to tell him what to do, and the guy's sword falls apart into small pieces. With the help of magic, Lucifer lifts the young people into the air and declares that they, together with Catherine, will go to the next world. Alice understands that the demon is too strong. The guy has no strength at all to resist. Catherine tries with all her might to stop Lucifer, saying that it was not they who attacked her. The devil falls to his knees before the girl, realizing that he can do nothing to help her. Lucifer muses that the Duchess can't just disappear. Their souls are linked by a spell, and she should be in her home now. Instantly opening the portal, the devil picks up the girl in his arms and quickly disappears. Catherine sits up on the bed, and Lucifer cannot believe that she is alive. The girl grabs the demon by the shoulders and assures him that it was not the princess who killed her. Lucifer does not listen to the Duchess. He pounces on her and tries to kiss her, but she stubbornly asks him to listen to her. Suddenly, the devil bursts into tears and asks Catherine not to frighten him like that anymore. The man, not embarrassed by his tears, says that he cannot imagine his life without her. Pressing the girl to the bed, Lucifer assures her that the girl owes nothing to either the king or the princess. Looking at the demon, the Duchess reasons that instead of looking for the right ending, it seems to her that staying in the game forever is not a bad option either. Opening the carriage door, Alice asks the princess for forgiveness for not being able to protect her. The boy bows his head and says that he will accept any punishment from the king. Eva realizes with irritation that the knight is more concerned about Catherine's death than about her injury. The girl extends her hand to the knight and tells him to carry her inside in his arms. An embarrassed Alice bows to the princess and says that it would be wrong because he has feelings for one girl. The astonished Eva demands that the knight immediately tell her which girl he is talking about. The young man sadly says that the girl's name no longer matters because she is no longer there. Alice orders the knight standing nearby to escort the princess to her chambers. Eva asks, in surprise, where the guy is in such a hurry. He replies that he needs to find Ekaterina's body. Turning around, the knight says that he must find the body no matter what. He cannot allow the dirty demon to disgrace her. The young man heads towards the cart and, out of habit, places his hand on his sword, but is surprised to notice that it is not there. The knight asks the princess, in fear, what he should do now since he killed the future queen. Eva says thoughtfully that Catherine's body disappeared along with the demon, which means that anyone will think that it was he who killed her. Alice hears the princess's words with fury, standing behind the half-open door. The young man understands that it was the princess who planned everything so carefully. The girl pounces on the knight and warns that if he opens his mouth, his whole family will have a hard time. Suddenly, the princess hears approaching footsteps and asks in fear who came there. A disappointed Alice slowly approaches Eve, and the girl asks in surprise what he is doing here. The princess looks at the young man thoughtfully and asks if he heard everything. The knight confirms that he heard every word and could not imagine that the princess became a murderer. The young man twists the knight's arms, declaring that he will not let any criminal who dared to touch Catherine escape. Eva understands with horror that she must stop Alice by any means necessary, because her father loves her aunt so much. The girl reminds the knight that they grew up together, and he cannot want the evil wretch to kill her. The knight notes that before the princess was the kindest and taught him to take responsibility for his mistakes. So how can she now say such terrible things? Eva says with fury that she was kind until Catherine killed her mother. If the girl does not become tough, she will end up the same way. The girl tells the young man not to forget that it was she who took him from the mountain of corpses and gave him a future. Eva wonders if Alice would really let her savior die because of Catherine. The knight angrily replies that he will not say a word to the king, but this will be the last service he will render to Eve. Alice turns around and leaves, saying that he no longer owes the princess anything. The king sits hugging the girl and indifferently accepts the news that Catherine is dead. The man sighs and says that it is a pity, and now he has one less tool in the fight against the Holy Father. The girl suggests that the king blame the priest for this incident, since it was he who trained the knight Alice. The man admits it's a great idea, then pushes the girl to the floor and orders the guards to kill her. The girl clings to her master in horror, not understanding why he is treating her like this. The king declares that the girl is too noisy and orders the knight to carry out the order. Turning around, the man with a grin orders that his beloved daughter Eva be brought to him. The princess approaches her father and anxiously asks why her father wanted to see her so urgently. The man replies that he simply wanted to know how exactly Catherine's murder occurred. Eva, horrified, says that she was wounded, fainted, and does not remember what happened next. The king begins to shout that his daughter must remember how the knight Alice deliberately led the knights away so that it would be easier for the demon to kill Catherine. Having calmed down, the father says that he will call Alice and interrogate him to find out the true cause of the Duchess's death. The Holy Father angrily says that for 30 years they managed to hide their organization, and the follower allowed Alice to find out everything. The young man says regretfully that he is very sorry and asks to be locked in the dungeon for 10 days. The Holy Father says that this is not a punishment and orders the knight to go to prison and perform a ritual of self-purification. The priest thinks irritably that he wanted to use Alice for his own purposes, but now he will have to get rid of him. In her chambers, Eva can't find a place for herself. The vile Catherine creates problems for the girl even after her death. The princess says that if this continues, her father will sentence her to death, just like her mother, and wonders who can help her. Behind the girl, the voice of the Holy Father is heard, promising to help the princess. The priest places his hand on Eva's head and says that he will solve the problem if the princess acts in concert with him. The girl looks at the Holy Father in surprise and asks why he wants to help her. The man explains that he and the princess's mother had known each other for a long time, and before she died, she asked him to take care of her daughter. The queen asked to look after Eva because she considered her a kind and fragile girl. The priest states that the best way to solve the problem is to get rid of Knight Alice. The princess is frightened by the words of the Holy Father, but he assures that he will help the girl with this. Meanwhile, Catherine, who everyone believes is dead, tries to cope with the onslaught of Lucifer. The demon looks intently at the Duchess and begs her to be with him. Kissing the girl tenderly and passionately, the devil says that he will not accept any refusal. Catherine insistently asks Lucifer to stop and declares that she agrees. The Duchess explains that she agrees to stay in this world and not at all to follow the demon everywhere. Lucifer says, upset, that you can't agree and then go back on your words. Catherine, in despair, thinks that first she needs to clear her reputation and become free, and only then deal with the rest of the problems. The Duchess is the main villain and enemy of the Justice Alliance, so at least you need to calm down all the enemies to stay in the game and live safely. The main problem is the princess, whose heart is filled with hatred and a desire for revenge. Lucifer declares that he will not allow the girl to return to a bunch of nobodies. He must always be by her side. The demon screams that he will kill the king, take over the kingdom, and then no one will dare to offend Catherine. The girl tries to calm the devil and says that if he behaves quietly, he can stay with her. The Duchess walks down the corridor and hears Alice's voice, who assures her father that he will avenge the girl's death. Catherine comes out into the hall. Both men freeze in mute amazement. The girl realizes that because of Lucifer, she forgot about her death and declares that she will now explain everything. The knight runs up to his mistress, not believing his eyes that the girl is really alive. Alice falls to her knees, takes the Duchess's hand, and realizes that she is indeed alive. With great relief, the young man kisses the Duchess's hand and admits that he was sure that she was no longer there. Looking at the girl, the knight declares that his carelessness has put her in great danger. Alice asks Catherine to make a contract with him so that he will become her faithful servant and declares that from this moment on he entrusts his life to her. Lucifer can't contain his rage that someone dared to touch his woman. Catherine tries to calm the demon down, realizing that if these two are constantly near her, her life will turn into a nightmare. A maid approaches the knight and informs him that the Holy Father wishes to see Mr. Alice. Duke Bella tells his daughter that since she is fine, she should go to the king and calm him down. Catherine reflects that since she has decided to stay and get rid of her reputation as a villain, she must first resolve the issue with the king. The girl tells her father that she has thought about everything carefully and decided not to marry the king. Duke Rothschild remarks that his foolish daughter must be frightened, since she should be happy that the king loves her. Catherine declares that she is a living person and not at all an instrument for achieving power. Everyone knows what happened to the eldest duchess. Being the king's wife is only a fleeting glory. The father claims that the sisters were raised to protect their lineage, and Catherine has no right to refuse the king. The duke orders his servants to watch every step of his daughter, who from that moment on is forbidden to leave her chambers. The father leans towards his daughter and threatens that if she mentions this topic again, he will show her how they get rid of useless nobodies in their family. Turning to the maid, Bella orders her to inform the king that Catherine is all right. The girl listens in surprise, as her father tells her to convey that they have always revered the god of light, and it was he who brought Catherine back to life. Upon learning that the Duchess is alive, the king says with annoyance that he has lost an excellent opportunity to ruin the life of the Holy Father. The ruler pushes his mistress away from him and declares that since Catherine has returned to life, she needs to get lost. The girl is amazed to hear that the king loves the Duchess with all his heart and cannot cheat on her. The man thoughtfully says that an ordinary person cannot simply be resurrected, but a holy virgin can do it. The king orders the knight to ask the princess if anyone saw any manifestation of dark forces when the attack on Catherine was carried out. The man orders rumors to be spread among the people that the king's beloved was almost destroyed by dark forces, and all because the church failed to cope with its task. Eva, overhearing the conversation, realizes with horror that the king wants to slander the Holy Father. The priest calmly listens to the princess's report of what the king said. The Holy Father notes that he has allowed a traitor to occupy the throne for too long, and that it is time to change the ruler. Eva asks the priest that she herself saw Catherine die, and how could she then be resurrected? The man says that in addition to the dark forces, there is another forbidden force that allows one to reverse life or death. Even the Holy Virgin does not possess this great power, so there can only be one conclusion. Eva guesses that her aunt made a contract with the demon, and it was he who was able to resurrect her. The Holy Father thinks that not all is lost, and that he will be able to thwart the king's plans. Once word of the demon spreads throughout the kingdom, it will be the perfect time to show the people proof. The Knight of Light informs the priest that Alice has arrived, and the man remarks that he arrived just in time. The priest leans towards the knight and says that he has already heard the news of the Duchess's death and asks where her body is now. Alice looks closely at the man and declares that Mrs. Catherine is alive. The priest feigns surprise and realizes that the princess did not lie. The girl really was resurrected. The man asks with feigned surprise how this is possible, since there is only one force in the world that can bring a person back to life. Alice categorically states that this is impossible. The God of Light must have resurrected Catherine by his own will. The Holy Father notes that it is difficult to believe in the worst and invites the knight to go with him and see everything with his own eyes. The priest points to the symbols on the floor and says that he noticed this recently. Someone must have come here and removed the seal that bound the demon. The man notes that this is the most powerful demon that has existed in the last 100 years, and only he has the power to bring a person back to life. Alice claims that the Duchess could not have conspired with the dark forces because the demon, on the contrary, wounded her. Turning sharply, the Holy Father authoritatively declares that there can be no doubt. The priest reminds them of the code of the Knight of Light, that they are obliged to resist the creations of the dark forces and fight in the name of the God of Light. The man states that it doesn't matter whether Catherine conspired with the dark forces. Alice's duty is to cleanse the world of evil, because honor is the most important thing. The knight sheepishly says that if he does this, then the reputation of Lady Catherine will be tarnished. Eva intervenes in the conversation and asks if Alice is really ready to allow the demon to do his ill will for the sake of the evil woman who killed her mother. Taking the young man by the hand, Eva reminds him that she and the Holy Father once saved him, so they should be on the same side. Alice pulls his hand away and notices that he has already repaid the debt to the princess, hiding from the king that it was she who organized the murder of Catherine. The Holy Father declares that the knight must collect evidence to prove the Duchess's connection with the dark forces. Walking down the corridor, Alice ponders how to prove that Catherine herself became a victim of the demon. Suddenly, the young man hears the sound of footsteps and sees the Duchess running quickly towards him. The girl accelerated too much and realized that she wouldn't have time to brake, so she shouted loudly for Alice to let her pass. The knight grabs the girl, saving her from the collision, and asks if she is okay. A few moments later, Catherine asks why the young man is looking at her like that and how long he plans to keep her. A maid appears in the corridor and asks the mistress to return to her chambers because she cannot leave without her father's knowledge. The girl leaves, noting with irritation that she almost managed to escape. Lucifer asks why he can't just teleport the lady away, but Catherine replies that she has to do something while she's here. The girl thinks that she needs to resolve all misunderstandings with the princess and the wedding issue as quickly as possible. The main reason for the feud between Eva and Catherine was the wedding that the king announced. Eva's mother was accused of having connections with dark forces and executed, and Catherine was given the opportunity to become the next queen. So the princess is sure that it was her aunt who set everything up. The Duchess hopes that if she refuses the wedding, all the problems with Eva will resolve themselves. Catherine does not understand how she can resolve everything now, and Lucifer declares that he is not going to calm her down. A servant comes to Samuel and tells him that he has information that the prince ordered him to obtain. The servant says that the people are discussing the fact that the future queen is connected with dark forces. The prince thinks for a moment and then orders his servant to spread the rumor that the lady is indeed connected with dark forces and therefore has no right to take the throne. Samuel speaks of the need for a unanimous demand from the people to reject the wedding of Catherine and the king. While walking around the city, Alice hears talk about Catherine being an evil witch who killed her sister to become queen. The knight intervenes in the conversation, declaring that all this is untrue, and the Duchess herself does not want the wedding. The young men advise Alice to lecture the aristocrats, since it was they who overlooked Catherine's evil nature. The knight is confused when he thinks that the lady has suffered from dark forces, and he not only cannot help her, but he himself begins to doubt whether she really is a villain. Returning to the Duke's castle, Alice falls to his knees before his mistress and asks to punish him. Seeing Catherine's puzzled look, the knight explains that he can't help her in any way. The young man says that everyone in the city is gossiping about the lady's connection with dark forces. People are scared and want to ask the king to cancel the wedding. The girl looks at the knight in amazement, thinking that she is simply incredibly lucky. Alice admits that he does not understand these gossips and is ashamed that he can do nothing to stop them. Catherine states that a knight cannot control what others say and is not obliged to. Time itself will put everything in its place. The girl notes that the young man has nothing to do with the rumors, and he is not a saint, so he should stop trying to act like one. Alice recalls an episode in which the Holy Father beat him with a whip, forcing him to memorize the knight's code of honor. Grabbing the young man by the face, the priest angrily said that they were obliged to resist the dark forces and fight in the name of the God of Light. The man urged people to remember that the God of Light had given the young man this honor and power, and for the people, he was now the messenger of the God of Light. The Holy Father said that the messenger should not be allowed to have dark desires. So if the young man breaks the fast again, he will learn what divine punishment is. Emerging from his memories, the knight admits that he is indeed not a saint. There is a knock at the door, and the maid announces that the king has summoned her mistress. Catherine heads towards the king, thinking that everything is going too easily, when she suddenly hears the sounds of a quarrel. The Duchess sees two younger princesses arguing over some sweets. Noticing Catherine, the second princess, runs up to her with a plate and tells her that she was very worried and ordered sweets from the pastry chef especially for her. The third princess snatches the plate and declares that it was entirely her initiative. Ekaterina looks in amazement at her favorite candies, which she secretly brought into the office while working on the game. The girl doesn't have time to take the treat, as Eva flies up and forcefully knocks the plate out of her sister's hands. The girls attack the princess, accusing her of constantly looking for a reason to quarrel. Eva angrily shouts that the people are rebelling and demanding that the wedding be cancelled, but the sisters are still sucking up to their aunt. The girls tell Eva to stop intimidating them and say that they have not heard any such rumors. The princess thinks with irritation that it is useless to explain anything to the stupid sisters, but she understands that one way or another, she needs allies. Suddenly, Eva notices Prince Samuel entering the corridor out of the corner of her eye and realizes that this is her chance. Turning to her sisters, the princess says that she wishes them only the best and is concerned that they will not be considered accomplices. The second princess claims that she does not know about Catherine's collusion with the dark forces, but Eva is definitely a bad person and pushes the girl with force. The falling princess is caught by Samuel, who asks her if she is okay. Catherine finally understood why Eva had suddenly become kinder. Pretending to be a sweetheart was very effective. The princess asks her sister for forgiveness and says that she herself could not stand on her feet. The third princess is about to attack Eva, but Catherine stops her, thinking that if the sisters continue to quarrel, Eva will only hate her more. Suddenly, the king's voice is heard behind the girls, asking what all the noise is about. Having embraced Catherine, the king notes that he has not seen his future wife for a long time and misses her very much. Noticing the prince, the king greets him and offers him some tea, and at the same time helps him choose a dress for his bride. The man turns to the Duchess and tells her that the tailors have already made the dresses and that the girl should try them on. Having put on her wedding dress, Catherine sadly thinks that everything is not going according to plan again. The king, seeing the bride, declares that he made the right choice. No girl can compare with Catherine in beauty, not even her late sister. Squeezing the girl's hand, the man claims that the people will be struck by her beauty and will no longer dare to disrespect her. The Duchess becomes uneasy under the king's touch and decides that she can no longer delay calling off the wedding. Eva sadly says that her aunt is incredibly beautiful in the dress and reminds her very much of her mother. The king demands his daughter to stop mentioning that woman, but the girl begins to cry, explaining that she misses her very much. Prince Samuel helpfully hands Eve a handkerchief and asks her to stop crying. Turning to the king, Catherine notices that the young people clearly have feelings for each other. The Duchess says the marriage will help strengthen the friendship between the two countries, and the young people look great together. Catherine hopes that if she brings the prince and princess together, she will not only win her over, but also reduce the level of anger. The younger princesses angrily shout that their aunt only cares about Eva, and that they too would not mind marrying the prince. The king asks Eva how she likes this idea. The daughter respectfully answers that she will submit to her father's will, and she herself thinks that Samuel will be an excellent ally. But suddenly the prince declares that it would be an honor for any of his brothers to marry Princess Eva. Samuel, looking at the princess, says that marriage is not in his plans because he still has a lot to do. Eva is furious that the prince had colluded with Catherine in advance and that her aunt wanted to disgrace her in front of everyone with her proposal. The girl curtsies, thanks her aunt for her concern, and advises her to focus on her wedding. The sisters mock Eva, saying that she believed in herself so much, and in the end, she was simply rejected. Eva explodes and screams that ever since her mother died, all her sisters have done is pester her. The princesses accuse their sister of only playing the victim, and that the whole world should not revolve around her. The third princess swings at Eva, shouting that after the queen's death, the girl is just a pathetic, empty shell. Samuel grabs the third princess's hand and urges her to behave with dignity. The guy claims that he refused the wedding for personal reasons, and Princess Eva has nothing to do with it. Turning to the girl, the prince admits that he is ashamed that because of him the princess is forced to listen to such insults. Eva watches the prince leave and hopes that he is not indifferent to her, which means there is still a chance to win him over to her side. Catherine gives the dress to the maid and asks the king for permission to tell him something. The man readily declares that he will fulfill any request of the bride, but the girl declares that she wants to call off the wedding. The king looks at the bride in bewilderment and asks her to repeat what she said again. Catherine looks the ruler resolutely in the eyes and declares that she wants to cancel the wedding. The Duchess says that the king can find a woman with a good reputation, and then they can find their happiness. The king looks at the girl intently and asks who told her to say this, but she assures him that these are her thoughts. The man hugs Catherine and says that they had to go through a lot to be together, even to get rid of the queen. So now, because of some rumors, she will give it all up. The girl remembers her last meeting with her sister and wonders why. If the king was involved in all this, she asked to take her place. The Duchess comes to the conclusion that there are some secrets involved in this story, which are connected with the fact that the king so persistently wants to get married. The man notices that his bride hasn't been getting much rest lately, which is why she's been saying all sorts of nonsense, and he orders Alice to take the Duchess to her chambers. A knight comes, greeting the lord, and the man orders that his secret order be conveyed to Duke Rothschild. The king says that the father should not take his eyes off his daughter, and no one should disturb her rest. As she leaves the king, Catherine hopelessly realizes that, judging by his reaction, the king does not intend to cancel the wedding. Suddenly, Samuel grabs the girl by the hand and asks why she proposed to marry the princess. Catherine pulls her hand away and thoughtfully asks why the prince was so dissatisfied with her proposal. The young man calmly replies that no man would be happy that his beloved wants to entrust him into the hands of another woman. The guy pins the Duchess against the wall and asks her to marry him, thus gaining the strength to confront the king. The girl angrily asks what power she can count on if no one listens to the prince himself and his kingdom. The young man is embarrassed, and the Duchess assumes that the prince wants to marry her in order to seize power from her family and pave his way to a bright future. As she leaves, Catherine notes that it is very stupid to sacrifice one's happiness in marriage and exchange it for power. The fate of her sister is the best confirmation of this. Alice, standing around the corner, is surprised to hear the lady say that she wants to be with the one she loves, and she doesn't care about his status or background. Hearing the last words, the young man presses his hand to his heart, which is ready to jump out of his chest from excitement. Catherine falls onto the bed, desperately thinking that all her plans are falling apart. There is a knock at the door, and Alice enters and says that he has brought something for his mistress. The knight says he saw the scene with the candies, so he asked the pastry chef to make some more. Handing the girl a basket, Alice says that if she loves these candies so much, then maybe she can love him at least a little. Catherine panics and thinks that she managed to steal this guy from the princess too. The young man falls to his knees and says that he was originally supposed to simply protect the Duchess, but ended up falling in love. In despair, Alice says that he used to believe the rumors about the lady and understands that there is no forgiveness for him, but still there is something he would like to ask for. The knight asks to be given the opportunity to protect Catherine forever, and he even agrees to protect her husband if necessary. Alice asks the girl to brand him, and at that moment, Catherine realizes that Lucifer is already on the verge of an explosion. The knight, without stopping, says that the lady can do whatever she wants with him, not noticing the black waves of dark magic. Lucifer, who has broken free, grabs Alice by the throat and angrily shouts that the guy doesn't dare tell his woman what to do. The girl grabs the demon by the hand, demanding that he leave the knight alone. The devil turns around and asks suspiciously why the lady is protecting the boy. Does she really love him too? Catherine states that she cannot explain everything in a few words and suggests that the demon first let Alice go, and then she will tell everything. Throwing the knight aside, Lucifer says that he always listened to Catherine and trusted her, but obviously he was wrong. The demon claims that he was too naive, and the Duchess is frightened by the expression on his face. The girl decides that she needs to run, but Lucifer seals the door with a wave of his hand. The devil, unbuttoning his shirt, declares that in order to gain power over the mistress, he needs to take possession of her. Catherine's hands are tied, and the girl angrily screams that if Lucifer does not let her go right now, she will stop loving him and will hate him forever. The devil looks at the girl in surprise and asks if he heard right, that the lady really loves him. The Duchess, in despair, says that she didn't mean it that way. She likes Lucifer a little, but if he doesn't let her go, even this drop of love will melt away. Lucifer happily declares that he is ready to obey and naively asks when the girl will love him completely. Sitting in her room, Alice tries to calm down and immerses herself in memories. The Holy Father asks with disdain whether the young man has already forgotten what he did. At the age of 10, Alice confidently wielded a wooden sword and trained at every opportunity. One day, a knight approached the boy and asked where he could find the Green family. Alice happily replied that he would take the man there. When the knight asks the boy what he does, the child says that he dreams of becoming a real knight. The man says that becoming a knight is not easy, and a brat like Alice will be beaten in battle, and he will run away crying. The child says, resentfully, that he has been able to hold back his tears since he was 8 years old, because it is not proper for a knight of light to cry. The man pats the boy on the head and laughingly apologizes for his bias. The knight asks the boy's name, and the child reveals that his name is Alice Green. The knight falls behind the boy and quietly asks the child for forgiveness, twirling a black flame in his palm. The boy sees a knight strangling his father, who screams in despair that there is a demon in front of him. Alice rushes to her father, intending to protect him, but his mother holds the boy tightly. The mother hides her child in a haystack, begging him to sit quietly and not give himself away. Having dealt with his father, the knight grabs his mother, noticing that another Green remained alive. After some time, the boy begins to cry loudly, blaming himself for the death of his parents, because it was he who brought the demon to them. At this moment, someone takes apart the boards that are piled high with hay, and a beautiful girl appears in front of Alice. Eva turns to the Holy Father and says that there really was a boy hiding under the rubble. At the age of 13, the Holy Father beat Alice mercilessly, assuring him that he must train hard to become the strongest knight and take revenge on the demon. The priest says that Alice constantly disappoints him and demands that he repeat again what he should do. The young man, with tears in his eyes, repeats that he must train hard to kill the demon and take revenge. Heading to the church, the knight thinks that the lady is not guilty of anything. The demon seduced her, and he needs to ask the Holy Father to save her. Eva reports to the priest that the king does not intend to cancel the wedding. On the contrary, in 3 days, at a church ceremony, he plans to announce the wedding date. The princess says that her father ignored the will of the people and acted in his own way, which is completely unlike him. The Holy Father reasons that the ruler intends to tell the truth about Catherine and thereby win the support of the people. Light and darkness are old enemies. If the king proves that Catherine is a holy virgin, then rumors about her connection with dark forces will disappear by themselves. If the king marries a holy virgin, his position will become higher than that of the Holy Father. The priest understands that the king has only one goal: to remove him. Eva asks in fear what they should do. No one should find out about Catherine's secret. The man convinces the girl not to worry, because together they will definitely cope with everything. A friend of Alice runs into the hall screaming and declares that the Holy Father was right, and the Duchess was indeed seduced by a demon. Leaving the hall, the young man heard the conversation between the priest and Eva, and does not understand why it is necessary to wait 3 days before the ceremony and grab the demon in front of a huge audience. The knight listens with surprise as the Holy Father decides to get ahead of the king and lure out the demon with a spell. The priest declares that when the time comes, they will lure out the demon and see what comes first, the king's plans or their actions. In desperation, Alice realizes that if she makes the demon show herself, everyone will believe that the lady is connected to dark forces. A servant hands the Rothschilds an invitation to a church ceremony, during which the king will announce the wedding. Duke Bella asks you to tell the king that Catherine will be at the ceremony on time. Alice, who was present at the conversation, quickly leaves, deciding that the girl should not be present at the ceremony. The servant unties the mistress's hands and asks for forgiveness, but he was only following the Duke's orders. The young man quietly asks Catherine to be obedient, because the Duke said that he would deliver his daughter to the ceremony, even if she was unconscious. Alice enters the chambers and notices that she does not feel any dark forces. It is obvious that the demon is not there. The knight grabs the girl by the hand and says that they need to run. Catherine does not understand why he is trying to help her if he knows about Lucifer. The young man explains that he wants to take the lady to a safe place where her father will not find her, and thus she will miss the ceremony. Catherine looks closely at the knight and asks why he decided that she does not want to go to the ceremony. The girl declares that she really wants to be there and will be the most beautiful there. In the church, Elise keeps his eyes on the Duchess and thinks that he must protect his beloved at all costs. The young man remembers the priest's words that when the time comes, they will make the demon appear and make sure that the rumors about the conspiracy with the dark forces are confirmed. Alice knows that he must never allow Catherine to suffer again. The king stands up and announces that he would like to say a few words before the ceremony begins. The servant leans towards Catherine and says that the king invites her to come up to him. The girl walks down the aisle, and the king tells her that he was lonely after the death of the queen, but then he met his love. The ruler announces the upcoming wedding, and Catherine at this time thinks that the time has come for her exit. Alice quickly makes his way through the crowd and suddenly comes across a knight with a tattoo that is so familiar to him. The young man grabs the knight by the hand, who at that time was about to activate the seal with magic, and screams that it was he who killed his family. Catherine looks at the young people in surprise. Alice angrily asks how the murderer dared to put on the clothes of a follower of the God of Light. The knight screams that he has no idea what the boy is talking about and sends a fireball at him. And Alice does not understand why the demon has light magic. If a demon uses light magic, he can get burned. But a follower of the God of Light can freely use dark magic. Suddenly, the young man says that he now understands why on that terrible day the killer's magic was not the black color of darkness, but only gray. Alice draws his sword and runs towards the Holy Father, declaring that the killer of his family was not a demon at all. Catherine watches what is happening in amazement. Everything has gone completely wrong, and she does not understand why the plot is changing so quickly. The priest repels the knight's attack and orders him to be captured because he has been possessed by a demon. Turning to his brothers, Alice cries out in despair that it was the Holy Father who killed his family 11 years ago. Lucifer muses that the priest was secretly teaching his students forbidden techniques to impersonate demons, all just to strengthen his power. The Holy Father shouts at Alice to shut his mouth immediately. The Holy Father shouts that it is necessary to immediately cleanse the boy from the demon with the help of light magic. Lucifer tells Catherine that the boy is too weak, and if he continues to fight, the old man will kill him. The devil, taking on his usual form, shouts to the girl that he must certainly save the naive boy. The knights look at what is happening in amazement. Since the demon came to Alice's rescue, it means he really is in cahoots with him. The Holy Father tells Lucifer, with satisfaction, that he has decided to show himself after all. The demon grins and notes that the priest failed to kill him last time, and it was obvious that he would return for revenge. Lucifer, calling upon his dark power, states that he has now become much stronger. Panic begins in the crowd, and Catherine understands that the priest is an important character and Lucifer cannot be allowed to kill him. The girl makes her way through the crowd of people to the epicenter of events, but at some point, someone's hand deals her a powerful blow to the neck. Instantly losing consciousness, the Duchess falls straight into her father's arms. The king orders Rothschild to take Catherine to the royal chambers and announce as quickly as possible that she is a holy virgin. Watching the fight, the ruler says that they need to hurry while no one interferes with them. A servant comes to Samuel and excitedly says that something has happened in the church. The prince understands that the day has come when the cunning fox Holy Father could not hide his secret. Suddenly, the young man feels a sharp pain in his heart and instinctively clutches his chest. The servant carefully seats the prince on the couch, noticing with alarm that his heart is hurting again. The servant says that they checked the information about Catherine. She really is from an ordinary aristocratic family, and Samuel needs to quickly find himself a suitable girl. The prince does not understand how the Duchess was able to find out about something connected with his family if she is from a simple family. Another servant runs into the room and announces that new news has come from the church and that it turns out that Catherine is a holy virgin. Samuel remarks with a grin that he has finally found the one that suits him. Catherine comes to her senses with difficulty, looks around, and realizes that she is in the king's chambers. These chambers are one of the main starting locations of the game, but the girl does not understand how she got here. The Duchess gets up quickly, thinking that she must get out of here as quickly as possible. Catherine approaches the door, pulls it, and realizes with despair that she has been locked. Suddenly, the door opens. Samuel comes in, grabs the Duchess by the hand, and says that they need to run. The prince hugs the girl, says that he loves her, offers to marry him, and go to his kingdom. Catherine pulls her hand away and asks the prince to watch his words. She is not suitable for him at all. Samuel kisses the girl and declares that if it is so important for her to marry the king, then he is ready to become her secret lover. The Duchess pushes the young man away and shouts that he has simply gone mad. They are in the palace, and he should be afraid of the king. The prince declares that he is ready to endure anything and again passionately kisses the girl on the lips. Samuel unbuttons Catherine's dress, kisses her shoulder, and declares that he wants to win her love. The Duchess pushes the prince away and tells him to come to his senses because he is not behaving as intended. Having calmed down, the girl says that Prince Samuel is a well-mannered, honest, and cultured young man. The young man grabs Catherine again and declares that she has overestimated him, that he is just a scoundrel who wants to drag her into the abyss of his desires. The Duchess touches something with her hand, and suddenly a secret door opens in the wall. The girl looks at the passage in amazement, not understanding where it came from. She definitely did not create it, so this is another bug. The prince looks at the secret passage in surprise and notices that the queen was not as simple as everyone thought. As she walks down the stairs, Ekaterina reflects that she has already gotten used to the fact that the plot is constantly changing. But now the locations are living their own lives. Looking at the prince, the Duchess reflects that, among other things, the characters act on their own, and all this can lead to the logic of the game being violated. Suddenly, the girl steps on something, and a hole appears in the floor. The prince manages to grab her at the last moment and save her from falling. Samuel says that there are a lot of mechanisms here, so Catherine should hold on to him tighter. If she gets hurt, it will hurt him a lot. Coming to a dead end, the Duchess feels the wall, looking for a mechanism that will open the door. Having found a way out, Catherine declares, with a smile, that there is no secret entrance without an exit. The couple opens the door, and to their surprise, the young people realize that they are in the office of the Holy Father. The Duchess understands that there was something between the priest and the queen, and does not understand why he did not help her, and even condemned her sister for dark forces, and not for betraying the king. Samuel looks around with interest. and suddenly tells Catherine that he found some kind of ring. The Duchess examines the find and notices that there are traces of dried blood on the ring. In the room next to the office, the voice of the Holy Father is heard, who orders that the escaped Alice and Lucifer be declared wanted. Entering the office, the priest looks around suspiciously and notices a book that has fallen near the bookshelf. In the royal chambers, Catherine is having trouble catching her breath from running so fast and tries to say something about the ring. The prince covers the girl's mouth and whispers that he heard the sound of a wardrobe being pulled back and someone's strange steps. Samuel notices that their pursuer may now be standing on the other side of the wall, listening intently. The young man recalls how a servant told him that not only the king, but also the Holy Father was interested in Catherine. The prince says it will be difficult to get the priest to admit to having an affair with the queen, and asks what he must hear to give himself away. Samuel firmly states that the priest must understand that something has been taken from him, and passionately kisses the Duchess. The king orders the servant to find Alice faster than the Holy Father. The guy knows about the crime, and perhaps they can win something in this situation. Suddenly, the king hears Catherine's voice, screaming that she is not a prop for the crime. Entering the chambers, the ruler asks what props his bride was talking about. Having understood the girl's words in his own way, the king angrily declares that she allows herself to insult the king behind his back. The Duchess glances furtively at the sofa, making sure that Samuel is not visible, and is muttering something inaudibly. The king grabs the girl by the throat and declares that it is an honor for her to become his wife, and not to be sold to a rich aristocrat, so she has no right to contradict him. Throwing Catherine onto the bed, the king declares that he needs to teach her a proper lesson so that she understands everything. While undressing, the man notices that their wedding is coming soon, so he can easily make the girl his. Samuel and the Holy Father, who were present at the scene, freeze in amazement. Ekaterina is simply in shock. She had not planned to broadcast the bed scene practically live. The Duchess tries to explain something to the king, but he does not listen to her and presses a demanding kiss to her lips. The girl slaps the master with all her might and orders him to take his hands off her. The king's face changes with anger and asks how the girl dared to contradict him. The Duchess declares that she does not contradict her master, but wants to cancel their wedding. Suddenly, Catherine receives a notification that an important character is in mortal danger, which will lead to the destruction of the game world. Alice looks at the raw heart with disgust and declares that she will never eat it. Lucifer notes that if the guy dies, it will be even better for him, as Catherine will have one less suitor. The knight pounces on the heart, convinced that he must live to protect it. The demon grins and remarks that light and darkness are eternal enemies, but it is now obvious that even the young man is not as pure as he seemed. Alice bites into the raw heart, saying that the darkness can help him, but the light killed his entire family. Noticing what the knight is doing, Lucifer, in shock, says that one bite of the beast's heart is enough for the dark magic to work. Alice looks at the devil with disbelief and asks if this is not a human heart. Lucifer calmly replies that he doesn't kill people just like that. You shouldn't think that demons only do evil. Catherine firmly says that she does not want to marry, but the king must be wary of rumors that the Holy Virgin is being held against her will. The Duchess is desperate and thinks that she needs to find Alice and Lucifer as quickly as possible and find out what happened to them. The king asks if Catherine has ever thought about the fact that the people are madly believing in the Holy Father, and that anyone who threatens to take away their power and influence will not last long. Listening attentively, the priest thinks with a grin that the king is well aware of his motives. Turning away, the ruler remarks that the girl should beg him not to abandon him, because if she falls into the hands of the Holy Father, death will seem like a good outcome to her. When the king left, Samuel runs up to the lady and asks if she is all right. Catherine thoughtfully asks the prince to give her the ring found in the priest's office. Looking at the find, the Duchess realizes that she was not mistaken. She had seen such a ring on the king's hand. Suddenly, Catherine realizes that the king knows perfectly well about the secret passage. The girl cannot understand the true reason for the queen's sentence. The sister clearly didn't want to die, so why didn't she ask for help, but just resigned herself to it? The Duchess realizes that if she learns this secret, she will be able to fix the bug, get the plot back on track, and complete the game. But before she gets into the secret, the girl needs to sort out more important things. As she opens the door to the balcony, Catherine realizes that she needs to escape and save the main male characters. Samuel notes that they are on the 3rd floor, and jumping down is a completely bad idea. The prince smugly says that, judging by the girl's expression, she definitely won't be able to cope alone. Catherine admits that she needs to escape from here as soon as possible, and asks if Samuel will help her. The prince assures that the girl can count on him, but in return, he wants a kiss. The Duchess remembers what she promised Lucifer, but if she delays, his and Alice's condition may worsen. Realizing that some promises can be neglected, Catherine quickly approaches the prince and kisses him on the lips. The young man says that the Duchess had rejected him all along, but now he has learned how tender his kiss is. Samuel sincerely thanks the girl for not rejecting him this time. Catherine is surprised to realize that she is touched by the young man's words, and how embarrassed he was by her kiss. One of the guards tells the other that the king has ordered the area to be patrolled as carefully as possible. Samuel jumps off the balcony with Catherine in his arms and asks if she is sure that she will go on without him. Watching the prince leave, the Duchess wonders if he has guessed that she is not of this world. Lucifer watches Alice's torment and notices that the darkness is eating away at the young man, and that the pain will only get worse. The knight replies that the demon shared the rest of his power with him, so he will not give up and will definitely cope. The devil thinks with doubt that he wanted to use these powers to find Catherine, but had to waste them on this weakling. Suddenly, the door swings open, and the Duchess appears on the threshold. Lucifer rushes towards her with a joyful cry. The girl asks if everything is okay, and explains that she found the guys thanks to the spell Lucifer used to bind them. The devil hugs Catherine and tells her that he missed her very much. The Duchess admits that she missed him too. She understands that the demon is not wounded, which means the message came about Alice. Running up to the knight, the girl realizes that his condition leaves much to be desired. Lucifer declares that the boy is fine. He cast a spell that will restore his strength, and soon he will be alive and well. The Duchess doesn't understand why the game world's destruction rate doesn't change, since the guys are okay. Can't it be changed anymore? Suddenly, the girl hears loud voices of people from the church tugging at the locked door. Alice, with all her might, asks Lucifer to protect Catherine, to which the devil snaps back that he himself knows what to do. The Duchess does not want to leave without Alice, but the young man assures her that the most important thing now is to save her. The girl clutches her head in despair, because the most important thing for the game is to save them both. The Knights of Light see Alice and declare that, judging by everything, he really is a traitor. The young man suggests not to waste time on chatter, since he has already been captured. One of the knights declares that the traitor must be taken to the Holy Father, and he will decide what to do with him next. Suddenly, one of the pursuers stumbles upon Lucifer and Catherine, and shouts that there are two more hiding here. Alice realizes that she can't let Catherine get captured, so she starts screaming and struggling. The captain seriously wounds the knight and declares that he does not dare to resist after his betrayal. Immediately, the girl receives a notification that an important character is in mortal danger. The Duchess begs the demon to help the young man, but Alice begs him to take the lady away from here. Lucifer opens a portal and, promising Catherine that nothing will happen to Alice, jumps into it with the girl in his arms. Watching the jump, the young man realizes with relief that his beloved managed to escape. Once on the other side of town, the Duchess shakes the demon and asks if Alice is sure she won't die. The demon looks closely at the girl and notices that she is very worried about the young man, whether she loves him. Suddenly, Lucifer begins to act strangely and whispers that his strength is running out. The girl doesn't have time to say a word, and Lucifer falls to the floor unconscious. The girl thinks that the new notification has not arrived, which means that everything will be fine with the devil. There is a knock at the door, and the Duchess, tightly wrapped in a blanket, opens the door to the royal guard. The girl explains that she has sore legs. She walks very poorly, and therefore did not open the door for a long time. The guard shows the Duchess a portrait of herself and Lucifer, and asks if she has seen these people. The girl shakes her head. The knight doubts and demands that Catherine look him in the eyes. The girl says that she is too ugly, and is afraid to scare him. But the guard insists. Suddenly, a handsome young man appears and tells the captain that she is his fiancée, so there is no need to interrogate her. The man explains that the girl had an accident, so she doesn't want to show her face to anyone. Embracing the Duchess, the young man declares that love should not disappear with a change in a person's appearance. Ekaterina looks in amazement at the man who is saving her and does not understand at all who is in front of her. The captain respectfully says that Duke Rothschild is certainly proud of such a son, and the young duke must have arrived for his sister's wedding. The man nods affirmatively and declares that he really wants to attend his younger sister's wedding. Catherine has absolutely no idea who this handsome man is. According to the plot, Catherine had no brother. The Duchess screams that she is hearing about her brother for the first time, asks who he is and where he is taking her. The man calmly says that he is Beavis, the girl's older brother, and she should have heard this from the guard. The Duchess reflects that now in the game, characters appear out of nowhere. Realizing that she needs to think about the safety of the main male characters first, the girl turns around and declares that she is leaving. Beavis calmly says that after Alice was discovered, there are guards prowling in that area. Is his sister sure she wants to go back there? The man claims that there was someone else with the girl, and that she must be hiding that very demon. Ekaterina turns around sharply and angrily asks what the young man is up to. Noticing the guards, Beavis pushes his sister against the wall, causing her to shout angrily. A passing guard notices that Mr. Beavis misses his bride very much, since he does not let her out of his arms. The man looks at the girl intently and asks if she really wants to know what he has planned. Beavis grabs his sister by the throat and coldly asks who she is and what she did with the real Catherine. The Duchess does not understand what is happening, but she knows that the characters cannot be allowed to learn about the real world. They must live only by the laws of the game world. Beavis states that the real Catherine was not so insecure and asks again what the girl did to her. Noticing another guard, the man turns the corner of the house and pulls the girl behind him. Having brought the girl to some house, Beavis says that this is his secret hideout, which he built among the houses of ordinary townspeople. The brother declares that the Duchess will not leave here until she tells where the real Catherine is. The sister screams in rage that if her brother wants to know the answer, he just needs to look at her. The girl insists that she is the real Catherine, and he just wants to lock her up here. Beavis grabs his sister by the hand and says that Catherine is a pure, innocent, and sweet girl, and in front of him is a dirty, greedy hypocrite who has taken her place. The man loudly slams the door behind him, and Ekaterina wonders in bewilderment how he found out all this. The Duchess recalls that the king and princess, who knew Catherine so well, did not guess anything, but Beavis understood everything from the first meeting. Now the plot develops on its own. The king and Catherine are together not only because of love. Samuel's true appearance is also not what was planned. Apparently, the bug somehow changed the relationships between the characters and made the game look normal. Because of a bug, the characters came to some strange harmony, and there is no need to think about why this happened, but rather to fix this bug. If this is indeed the case, then perhaps Beavis, who appeared without the developer's intervention, is the only character who figured it all out. The Duchess decides to shake everything he knows out of Beavis, and in her current situation, she is left to ask the prince for help in order to escape. Helping the Duchess get out, he remarks that he did not expect her to turn to him again so quickly. Ekaterina thinks that if it weren't for her current situation, she would never have approached a guy who would kiss her without permission. The lady stumbles. The prince deftly catches her and says that she is looking at him strangely. She must have remembered their passionate kiss. The girl breaks free from Samuel's embrace and states that Bavis could return at any moment, so they need to leave. Catherine mysteriously asks if Prince Samuel would like to play hide-and-seek with her against the guards in one of the secret areas. Walking openly around the city, the prince is puzzled, and Catherine notices that the more secretive you are, the more suspicion you arouse. The girl says, with a smile, that it is unlikely that anyone would think that the locked-up Catherine suddenly went out for a walk in the middle of the street. The royal guards come towards the couple and greet Prince Samuel. Suddenly, one of the knights grabs the Duchess by the hand and tells her to raise her face and look him in the eyes. The prince hugs Catherine and angrily says that the girl is dear to him. And is this really how they treat guests in their kingdom? Samuel coldly remarks that the captain is treating his guest like a criminal. The prince orders him to be taken to the king and says that then he will see how the ruler values friendship between states. The captain respectfully asks for forgiveness and order the others not to stop the guest if they see her on the street again. Catherine is triumphant. Everything is going very well, and now she can calmly set off on her search alone. The Duchess turns to Samuel and declares that she will not torment him any longer and that he can go about his business. The prince stops the girl and remarks that he deserves a reward for his efforts. Before Catherine can say a word, Samuel kisses her passionately for the umpteenth time. The Duchess looks at the prince and notices that his kisses make her heart beat faster. Meanwhile, Lucifer gradually comes to his senses and calls his Catherine. The girl runs into the house and happily notices that the demon has finally woken up. Catherine throws out the blankets and says that it is very dangerous here, and Lucifer needs to shrink as quickly as possible. The devil raises his head and notices with amazement that the girl smells like another demon. Approaching Catherine's lips, Lucifer declares that the smell is especially strong in this place. The demon declares that the girl must be cleansed of him and tenderly kisses her on the lips. The Duchess is surprised to feel that the kiss seems to take over her entirely. The girl cannot tear herself away from Lucifer and feels that she belongs to him entirely. The door opens and Samuel looks in surprise at the kissing couple. The prince calmly asks if the girl really left him for a man who radiates only dark energy. The Duchess looks at Samuel in surprise and says that everything is not at all as he might have thought. Lucifer angrily says that it was the prince who left his energy on Catherine, and the girl does not understand that Samuel is not a human. The devil rushes at the prince with his fists and shouts that the Duchess belongs to him. The girl thinks that something doesn't add up here. Why does the prince possess dark magic? Lucifer grabs Samuel by the throat and declares that even though they are both demons, the boy is no match for him, and he can easily make him a servant. The Duchess rushes towards the men and asks them to stop, but suddenly a voice is heard from the door, declaring that they should not be disturbed. Beavis laughs and says it's the first time he's seen two demons fight over a woman. The brother grabs the girl, enveloping her in magic, and declares that demons will never be with the Holy Maiden. Both demons immediately stop fighting and are ready to pounce on the man threatening Catherine. The Duchess breaks free from her brother's grasp and declares that she needs to sort things out first, and then he can do whatever he wants with her. Catherine approaches the prince and asks if he is a demon. The guy invites the girl to see for herself. The Duchess muses that perhaps because the prince is a demon, he appeared completely differently than was intended in the game. Turning to Beavis, Catherine asks if he is a disciple of the Holy Father, since they are the ones who know how to use light magic. The brother replies, with surprise, that the girl has obviously forgotten that their family does not believe in the God of light. The man tells the astonished sister that the priest simply made up this god, otherwise Beavis simply would not have been able to use magic. The brother quickly takes the girl away, Lucifer rushes in pursuit and demands that she be released immediately. Beavis attacks the demon with a powerful beam of light and states that the demon is powerless to stop him. The brother summons a magical portal and is carried away with Catherine in an unknown direction. Lucifer lies on the ground and watches in despair as his beloved disappears. Turning to Samuel, the devil angrily asks why he is letting them go. The prince says that Lucifer heard everything himself. It is not at all a fact that a god of light exists in their world. Lucifer, shocked, says that this could mean that they are not demons at all. A new law has been introduced at the Catherine Zoo, and the first to accept this challenge was a puppy. The kitten and the puppy were constantly arguing over who would own Ekaterina. Then a third pet appeared at the zoo, a cunning fox. The kitten and puppy noticed that the fox was breaking the rules and decided to team up, creating a huge mess. And at this time, a cunning snake appeared and simply kidnapped Catherine. Since then, the trio's feud has strangely ceased, and they have united against a new enemy. Her father attacks Catherine, saying that she had the nerve to come back, but Beavis stands up for her, saying that she has already suffered. Duke Bella shouts, in anger, that after his daughter's escape, the king's wrath fell upon the Rothschild family. And on top of everything else, the traitor knight was also captured. The girl thinks that since Alice was captured and is going to be interrogated, it means he is definitely alive. Beavis calmly says that he has already explained everything to the king, and now they just need to work closely with him, and then the Holy Father will not be scary to them. The brother states that the king has pardoned their family and ordered him to personally watch over his sister, who will live in the family castle until the wedding day. The father puts his hands on his son's shoulders and says that he is immensely glad that they have him. Duke Bella confidently states that making the young man a member of their family was the best decision in his life. Catherine listens to the conversation with surprise. It turns out that Beavis is not a biological son, but an adopted son of the Rothschild family. Beavis unties the girl's hand, and she asks why he brought her back. The man claims that, unlike demons, who have never seen the true light, he can borrow the king's power and legally lock the girl in the castle. Beavis declares that as long as Catherine is in his hands, he will succeed, and he will be able to get rid of all the guys who are constantly pestering her. The Duchess asks, with interest, what her brother will do if it is not the guys who are hitting on her, but she on them. Grabbing the girl in his arms, Beavis angrily declares that her entire body belongs to him, and that no one else is allowed to touch her. Catherine arrogantly declares that Beavis is just an older brother and has no right to tell her what to do. The girl notices that as soon as the guy thinks that the person in front of him is not the real Ekaterina, he immediately tries to take control of her. Bringing Beavis to his senses, Catherine asks what his father will say if he finds out that his brother has dirty thoughts about his little sister. Seeing that the guy is barely holding back, the girl continues to say that because of such strong efforts, her brother does not have enough power. Beavis clutches the doorframe with his hand, and the Duchess continues that as soon as the king finds out what kind of brother-in-law he will get, Beavis will immediately lose trust. Taking the guy by the chin, the girl says that she and Ekaterina clearly did not have a brotherly relationship, and perhaps Beavis used her as a tool to strengthen his position. Beavis pulls herself together and notices that the girl is asking too many questions about what exactly she wants to know. The girl asks why Catherine decided to marry her older sister's husband. Beavis suddenly grabs Catherine by the neck and declares that it does not concern her. The guy warns the girl to stay away from other men because she belongs to him. Beavis leaves, and the Duchess demands to be told the whole truth. Suddenly, someone covers Catherine's mouth with their hand, and she falls silent in fear. Turning around, the girl sees Lucifer and asks in amazement how he was able to get into the chambers. Catherine says that a seal was placed on the door, and then notices with fear that the demon is wounded. Lucifer does not hear the girl's questions and angrily says that Beavis told no one to touch her. The demon asks who he is to forbid anything, and passionately kisses the Duchess. Catherine jumps aside, and Lucifer notices that the girl was right about one thing. The demon throws the Duchess onto the bed and declares that if he eats her heart, he will be freed from all suffering. Unbuttoning his shirt, the devil confesses that the girl's charms have a strong effect on him, and he wants to drink her to the last drop. Kissing Catherine's hand, Lucifer tenderly tells her that she has absolutely nothing to worry about. Bevis sits down at the bar and wearily asks for a glass of wine. Hearing screams in the street, the Duke jumps out and asks what is going on, and the man explains that the girl pushed his old grandmother. People around her say that the girl is clearly not from around here. She was passing by the old woman and must have pushed her. The girl explains in fear that she was passing by her grandmother, who fell, and the girl extended her hand to help her up. The stranger says with tears that she just wanted to help the old woman, but obviously it was a mistake. The girl asks for forgiveness, and suddenly the image of his beloved Catherine appears before Bevis's eyes. The guy looks at the stranger in amazement, not believing his eyes. Bevis claims he has already heard of this scheme and orders the scammers to get out of his sight while he is still being kind. Suddenly, the stranger feels her dress and says in horror that her money is missing. The Duke turns abruptly and orders the swindlers to return what they stole immediately, or they will end up in prison. As they leave, the scammers note that it has become increasingly difficult to deceive people, especially non-locals. Watching the couple walk away, Bevis notices that the woman really does have a black heart. The girl sincerely thanks the Duke for saving her money. He replies that it is his duty and asks who the stranger is looking for. The girl says that she is looking for her brother, named Lucifer, and asks if the gentleman knows him. Bevis looks at the girl in amazement. He did not expect such a turn of events. Half-naked Lucifer bends over Catherine, but at the very last moment the girl asks him to stop.